devil's pulse begins to quicken while the body rots to dust and bones. There's a tear in the heart where the devil roams. Magic. Give it back. Looks like the devil's got a new dance partner. I'm grateful.
Are we late for dinner?
I'm so proud of you.
Careful. I took his magic and made my own pact.
We gotta keep moving.
Somebody cut off more than you can sew.
Oh, hit it again. We're just rotten thieves.
Your daughter did this to me. I can fix it. While the body rots to dust and bones, there's a tear in the heart where the devil roams.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited. So I'm a little bit at top level here. Today we're talking about Where the Devil Roams, which is the 7th film from the Addams family. And I'm super excited because we are joined today by Toby Poser. This is our second time on the show, and we're super excited. We promised we would have you back, and you were here.
I'm so happy.
Yes, and super excited. We have the beautiful Zelda, who is of course Toby's daughter, and also acting, directing, and writing in this film along with Toby, and also her father, John Adams, and Lulu Adams is also in the film. So this is our favorite family. We've all put ourselves up for adoption to be in this family. So we're super excited as always, but to have a beautiful panel of amazing women on the show. Now, I watched this film last night, and so it's nice and fresh still in my head. But the first thing I want to say is, oh my God, Zelda, you can sing, you look gorgeous. I'm just like biggest girl crush on earth. So
thank you so much. You're too sweet.
Hey, the line starts behind me. So
I got here first. I was like blown away. I was just like watching it going, stunning, but also like when you sing, I was just like amazing. And thirdly, the soundtrack to this film is so good again, and I'm all about it. And I had it like on Spotify all the last 2 days. I've just been banging it out. So as always, and I know Zelda, thank you so much for joining us. I know you've only got maybe an hour because you are a study queen. So just let us know when you need to drop off.
Of course, thank you.
I'm thankful that you could spend some time with us.
Wait, can I be like super invasive and ask you what you're studying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am studying art history, and I really love it. But I also am taking a lot of classes outside of art history, like French right now, which is what's killing me the most. So I'm studying so hard for an exam coming up because we literally have exams every week, and it's crazy, but I love it because imagine studying art history in Paris. It's worth it. I want to do it really badly.
That's amazing. I love it. I feel you though. I'm a full-time graduate student as well right now, and I am also doing an internship. So everything's just kind of like, How
do you find the time to do movies and model and record?
Thank you. It's something that we're figuring out, right, Toby? Like, we're like, all right, you know what? I think our working space is in the winter and the summer.
Yeah. And of course, like this film as well, like you were director of photography on this, Zelda, and I've got to say, like the landscape shots and the wide shots and the aerial are so gorgeous. I was just like, I just want to be there, and like so much witchy vibes, and like Yeah, it's
Oh,
so beautiful.
thank you so much. A lot of credit just goes to like upstate New York where we're from. It's so gorgeous.
What stunning. And like we've spoken with Toby before about how epic and amazing it is to work with family. What is it like for you working with your parents and your sister?
I love it so much. Like my sister and I have grown up making movies with our parents. We started when I was 6 and my sister was I think 10 or 11. And so that's just like a really special experience, like getting to learn the craft of filmmaking together. I think you learn a lot about the art form, but then also a lot about working with people, especially like your parents, and then like bonding over it too, and then bonding with my sister over it. It's really special to me. And
Mhm.
the way that John and Toby raised Lulu and me is like as friends instead of as like you're our inferior and you have to listen to us, which I think has really impacted our personalities.
Shut
as
up. Go to
sisters.
bed.
And it's like, I mean, there's definitely, you can feel it even throughout all your films, but this film, there's like this real sense of real honesty. And I think that comes from probably being a family, that there's just this real connection, and you can feel that everything's really, authentic and honest. I really love that about your films, and I think it really showed through in this film, especially.
I just think this film would look like it was so much fun to make. It's so wacky. I feel like it's much more like your other one that we did was of yours that we reviewed on the show was very artistic, as this one was too. But this one was I think just seemed like it was more fun, as like just silly, and like I can imagine behind the scenes you guys were just having a blast making this one, because there's so many components to it. You have like this rock music video at the end, and you have like this carny vibe with this unbelievable aesthetic. That's what gets me about your guys' work, is your composition of shots is just unreal. But like you guys have this penchant for like depicting such a specific aesthetic, but with this like twist that I've never seen before in anything, and it just makes your film so unique and remarkable, I think.
I want to live in them. I want to live, even though I'll probably get killed in the film. I want to live. I want to live in them because they're so beautiful. And I'm like, well, if that's where I die, at least it's a pretty, it's a pretty place to die.
Gloomy,
literally like
gloomy,
the best
gothy goodness.
Oh.
What, Zelda? What were you saying?
That's literally all of that. Like, it's just like the best compliments, like music to our ears. And like a lot of times people are like, oh, like who is your favorite director, all this stuff. And I always give the most basic response, but I'm like, Wes Anderson, because I want to live like in his world. And so, oh my gosh, thank you.
Yeah, it's a bit like Wes Anderson meets it's like Wes Anderson meets David Lynch a little bit, and then also some John Waters thrown in there for fun. Like I definitely, all my favorite things are kind of like already in you guys' brain, and the fact that you work together and you're a family, I imagine there's a shorthand there. I imagine there's a shared love of certain films, and you can really tell that come across in Hellbender and in this film, where I was just like this. And you also are advancing with each film, so at some point you're going to be too big to talk to us, but since you're here now, thank you for, I'm curious about like how you came up with this idea for this movie and for its aesthetic. I would be interested to hear about
I was watching it the whole time being like, how do they come up with this? Like, and I feel like I'm pretty good at predicting what's going to happen in a lot of films, and those are usually the films I don't like as much, and I didn't know what was going to happen in this. It was very surprising.
Well, yay. Toby, is it okay if I take a crack at it?
Yeah, I get it.
So sorry if you hear the sirens in the background. I'm in New York. But when I was pretty young, my sister and I used to watch a lot of American Horror Story, and season 4 rolled around, and it scared the living hell out of me. Twisty the Clown terrified me. So I used to like always wake up from nightmares, and I would see him next to my bed like this, like staring at me like that. And I remember, I think, talking to Lulu about it, and her being like, you just like need to rationalize it a little bit. Like just like really dive into it and like really think about it. Like maybe he's got like a backstory, that clown, if that makes you feel better. So I remember like I did think about it, and on like a car ride to soccer practice, I was talking to my dad, and like we were kind of like throwing stories at each other. Like we do that a lot during dinners or drives. And I was like, yeah, like what about like a clown who like has like a family, and like he's really fucked up, but like his family, loves him, and like they travel the carnival circuit together, and they just like rot as the story goes. And so that kind of like turned into what the story is now. You can see how much it's changed, but that's where it was born. And really just like bringing that idea to the family, and then all of us like kind of like throwing punches at it, and like some things stay, some things don't. And this is what it turned into. We didn't go the clown route, but we did go the carny route.
And there's kind of the two characters, with the clowny but gothy makeup,
Yes.
which I like the little twist on that.
Oh, thank you.
It was like, oh, and they were kind of like, yeah, real creepy. You're trying to figure out like what their vibe is.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's called like just put them in a lot of makeup, let it dry and start to crack off, and don't fix it. Just embrace it, Yeah.
Yeah, no,
which I appreciate, because one of my biggest pet peeves in horror films, and that maybe it's just me, maybe I'm the only one that notices this as a woman, but also as a woman who's constantly having to reapply her makeup every step of her existence, is anytime someone gets kidnapped and they escape, or anytime someone is like being chased in the woods or the desert or a beach by whatever killer, their makeup looks amazing. They never sweat it off. They go to bed in full makeup, like Priscilla Presley style, which she did that for Elvis, so I know that much. But when you wake up, and I know this from drag queens too, you do not wake up with the same makeup you went to bed with. Your pillow might, but you won't. So it's like watching killers also just look the same throughout a movie bugs me. So I like that there wasn't any like fixing up of everything. You get to see the degradation and the destruction happen as is. So, which also has got to be a pain in the ass for continuity, but just for shooting it that way. But I was impressed by a lot of these things that I notice in horror films, because I'm a horror film buff and a critic and a podcaster about it. I'm always paying attention to the dumbest stuff. I'm paying attention to the stuff and being upset that it's not realistic when it's a horror film, so it's not really supposed to be realistic in the
more patchy makeup, please. Let's be real.
And also
sweating it off. I'm running blocks, guys.
Yeah. And realistic to the era too. So I'm glad that like you did a film like this, but we're very good about not making it feel like, oh, you put some people from, not mixing up the era look too much. Like I felt like it was continuous, but also a believable world. And when it's a believable world, believable characters, believable, you get lost in it. You don't get taken back saying, oh, that's not right. You're lost in it. And I was definitely finding myself way more lost into this movie than I'm in most movies. So I really appreciated that as an audience member, to get immediately sucked in and not spit out till the end.
Thank you. I remember there was like a scene where I went in and I had like a pimple like right on my nose, and I was like, oh my God, I need to like do something about this. Like, oh my gosh. And John and Toby were like, no, it's great. Like you wouldn't cover it up like Eve would never cover up a pimple, would she? And I was like, wait, you're right.
I kind of imagine Carney's like in airbrush perfect makeup, and like, they're by the side of the river with a broken mirror, like with all their MAC makeup. Just
There's a close up of me, and there's like a hair sticking out of my chin, and I'm like, oh my God. Like, Maggie would have the hair sticking out of her chin. So
yeah, totally. And
it's all for the art.
Exactly.
And one thing I wanted to ask about too was like, I loved the religious and like the Gnostics and all that stuff that you brought in, and Abaddon and all that kind of stuff. Whose idea was that? Or like, were you guys like reading up on this stuff? Like, because it's pretty like, it is pretty resonant. Like the story about Abaddon is, true in folklore. And all that stuff. Like, did you like go down a black, kind of rabbit hole?
Yeah, John studied comparative religion in college, and he loves the Gnostics, and he kind of turned me on to the Gnostics. And so we're always kind of like squeezing the Gnostics into our films in some way or another. And in this case, we really wanted to, we kind of researched things like, you know, like the book of Revelation and the fall of the angels and destruction. And when I looked at the meaning of what we call it, like Abaddon or Abaddon, you know,
Sorry, yeah, Australian can't
no,
speak words.
yeah, no, and I'm sure, and we probably pronounce it wrong, but
I
it
think you
meant like,
pronounced it right, to be fair.
yeah, it meant like destruction or like the abyss, and we were like, well, that's where our people are living. So we kind of wanted, then that sort of turned us on to this idea of having a dark fairy tale undercurrent of the story, sort of like below the earth, above ground, that there would be this undercurrent of the fallen angel and his love story meeting a human, to kind of correlate to what our characters are doing. And that was really fun to do, and to come up with the poetry. We just had a blast making mythology in all of our films. It's important to us.
It's so like I go down the black hole of like revelations all the time. I just like, I'm not religious, you know, remotely at all, but I get like in this like fascination of it. Like I just love the idea and the storytelling of it. Especially
it's good horror, right?
It really is, yeah. Like some of the, and all the stuff to do with hell and you know, all of that is just so
that was
dark
my
and
that by
cool.
the way, that was my introduction to loving horror, because I you know, started off that hell and, you know, fire and brimstone kind of Christianity and Catholicism, and, you know, not totally evangelical, but definitely like we believed that, you know, we were in trouble all the time as kids. So it was like we probably were, but I mean like on a biblical level. But like once I got to like you know, Revelations, to me that is, if you ever want to start reading horror or get into writing horror or being a director, actor, just read that, because that's like a treasure trove of ideas. And it's also not really explained well at all, so you can really have your own interpretation. And even the Abaddon situation, which by the way is fresh in my brain because of all the Hell House movies and the new one that just came out, because of Hotel Abaddon, but being a portal to another whatever. And I don't know. I think what I like a lot about your movies is you're bringing up topics, you're bringing up things that, like, you know, like Renee said, we will go, wait, what? And then we'll write it down, and then we'll go down like Reddit or Wikipedia or whatever rabbit hole we fall into, and literally just learn all these things that I didn't even think about. And now I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm reading at 3 a.m. on Reddit because of you guys. But that's a testament to good world building and good story and good characters and good creativity and doing something different in the horror realm and horror genre that, you know, a lot of people aren't doing. So it's a testament to not only your backgrounds and whatever you studied or whatever you're interested in, but at least you're also teaching us something new instead of just, you know, the same old stuff, which I love same old stuff too. But you guys really, I feel like I'm getting a little bit of a doctorate every time I watch one of your movies.
Oh
That is so
gosh.
cool.
Aw.
You know, it's really hard to be fucking original, right? Like we don't even watch, we haven't even seen most of the films that people think we're influenced by. And it's just like, that just shows how hard it is to be original. A lot of people have similar ideas. I think the key is to just like reach into your most primitive imaginations to at least attempt to be as original and authentic as possible. Like people are the same themes are always gonna bubble up, but I think it's a question of like tackling it. Like I go down these rabbit holes too, but I consider it as inspiration, and then I try to like pull most of it out so I don't like get like hitched to it, you know?
Yeah,
And also the era is great too. So I did want to mention the Great Depression that's not an era that's done a lot in horror, to be honest. At least ones that, I mean, I'm sure someone in the comments is going to yell at me and say, yes, there's a bazillion movies, but I don't see it unless it's like a brief flashback and that's it. You know, you don't see movies that are horror films just in this era and stay in this era, but also like give you a fresh approach to it. I think also we're kind of in an era now where a lot of baby boomers are starting to like, I don't want to say die off because my parents are baby boomers. I don't want to like do that kind of weird, horrible manifestation. But, you know, a lot of people are obsessed with certain eras, especially in this country. Great Depression isn't always one of them. So I am always in awe and always appreciative when people do a horror film based in that era. I think it's an interesting time to do it because people are very much, you know, desperate and starving and poor and looking for salvation everywhere, but also looking to, you know, survive in all these different ways. And a horror film can really, I think, blossom in that era because it's so everyone's on edge, everyone's freaked out. I just really loved it. And also obviously the carnival background, the carny background. I mean, that's always gonna be creepy, no matter how. Even Disney couldn't make it not creepy in Dumbo, so it's like,
like there's just so many layers of creepy, but like, you know, like she's saying, there's so much depth to your work as well. And then you just have the layer of where you make everything just look so beautiful. And I know that's what I said the last time we did a show, is I just kept raving about how everything was just stunning. Like all the shots, like even this, like the shot with the car going like on the road, and the way that you framed it with the trees and everything, like everything. I was just like, as somebody who has directed and produced things and everything, and I just love like art and composition and everything like that. And it's just, I don't know how you make this stuff for like, I don't know how much this costs, but like as somebody who's produced films and stuff, I know like things can be very expensive. And I'm like, this is so beautiful and looks so high end. And it seems like at the same time, like such a family, like do it yourself thing, that I'm just like, I'm perplexed. Like, how do you make it look so good?
Tell us your secrets. Give us all your secrets. So we can make a movie.
I watched the credits, right? I watched the credits, and everything is just like it's your family, like all the roles. And I just love how involved you all are, because I was so involved when I was producing and directing my films. And I picked the outfits the girls wore. I picked everything, you know, the setup, the house, you know, exactly what girls were going to say. And like everything down to like the pretty girl shots and the makeup and the writing on the back of the box cover that was very naughty and all that stuff. Like I did all of that. And so I love seeing like that you're doing so many roles, all of you, and you're so involved in all of it. And I don't know. I'm like, as somebody who also wants to make a horror movie someday, I'm like, how much does this cost? I know that's a rude question to ask, because I was like, last night I was just watching and I was like, this looks so cinematic and just beautiful and such, like, I love artsy horror. That's like my thing. Yeah. And this is artsy horror with like a whole bunch of creepy stuff with creepy dolls, and there's like a devil pact, and there's just like so much to it. And I'm impressed by the layers that you throw in there, and the depth that you go into in so many different areas. And I'm just like, how long does it take to make this, and how much money does it cost? Like, how big of a crew? Like, you don't have that huge of a crew, so I'm just like, you must have really good equipment.
I don't think Nana, like basically across the yard. I'm in John's sister's house because their Wi-Fi is better than ours, which is why if you look at the wallpaper, yes, that's the back.
I know, it's surreal actually, and you know, the last time we had you on the show, it was so weird to me too. Like, I just watched you, and then you're here, and I'm talking to you. And my life is awesome.
we all got super excited when I just mentioned it, when we saw Toby in House of Usher on Netflix.
Oh no, we yelled. We all like
watched
it around. Yeah, we all yelled. By the way, like we all told each other on Instagram in our like Instagram DMs, and then I was like, oh my god. I think we all kind of watched it sort of at the same time.
I think I was the last, because I messaged y'all in our thread, and I was like, hey, I was like, oh my God, I didn't know Toby was in this. And I literally stopped and I was like, oh my God,
that's my little 1980s like DA outfit.
It was so cool. It was such an awesome surprise.
And to your credit, Zelda, I did think I saw you in the rave scene, and I know you're not in it, but I was like, I don't know though. Maybe she was. Maybe she's in like the, you know, debaucherous orgy rave that happens. And I was like,
I wish. That would be so fun, getting to be one of like actually I won't say, but
well here's the thing. Fun. You will probably end up being in this. I mean, come on, girl. You guys are like royal. You're becoming horror film royalty, and to us, we were like, okay, they have to be in everything now. We can't just have them be in their awesome films, but they also have to like. So when I saw Toby, I was like, okay, where's Zelda? I literally was
You guys are so sweet. Thank you so much.
And we're definitely the Addams Family fan club here.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Well, years too. But Jenna, I was gonna say, just because I can answer it easily, you know, since we live in the middle of nowhere and we use each other, we have lots of family here, houses that were built a long time ago with cool wallpaper that can pass for like a wealthy Depression era house. Across the yard is a barn where John's dad keeps the old car that we use from the 1931 Chevy. So there we are. That we already had
cool.
that. That
it was so Munsters Adams.
Wait, so you own the car? The car is yours?
Like
in the family?
So there you go.
You all have the most magical artistic life. Like I am just like,
we're lucky.
wow.
I'm gonna pack my shit and I'm like moving tomorrow. Just like put me in a closet.
Please come visit us, and we will give you the tour of our little studio.
We won't leave. That's not.
We
a
don't
good
have
way. We would say that you could come stay in the closet, but Toby and John built our house, and Toby designed it as if it was like a theater, like a play.
Nice.
And I guess that didn't include closets, so we don't.
I'll just sit in the corner, guys. I'll just sit in the corner.
You don't need closets. That's what wardrobes are for. That's like that. Just like I was disappointed as a small child that we had closets and not wardrobes because I couldn't then pretend I was in Lion the Witch and the Wardrobe.
Right.
Because it doesn't quite have the same mystique. A dusty closet in a Kansas house does not make a British wardrobe. So yeah, I think you're fine. You're fine as long as you can. As long as the house is still standing and as long as you can still film in it, to me, again, that's a great thing to admit too, that you're cutting corners, but not really, because you own everything. It's like owning your own recording studio or owning your own, effects house or someplace where you can film and not be bothered by traffic and people and annoying things because it's all like captured within. Because I know with Hellbender, you guys have the forest. So
yeah, well, that's because we're surrounded by forests too. They're old houses, really cool old roads, rivers, and woods where we live. Eagles, we got to shoot the eagles because they were just right there. So we're lucky in that sense, where people might have to pay for a location and get permits. We can really skip that part.
Yeah. I'll also just add on to the question, like, we're lucky because we have so much time, especially when we made this. I was living at home. I was a senior in high school. So like we could go out and just like shoot videos of eagles. We could go out and shoot that car video 10 times in a row to make sure it was right. And also I want to give like a lot of credit to our special effects guy, Trey Lindsay, because we used a lot of composites in this film to combine towns with the stage, like the carnival set with a Wonder Wheel in the background. Like a lot of them were like shots that we did do, but they were put together by Trey and by John, and that really did, I feel like, add to the like cinematic value of it and like production design.
I won't say I'm not disappointed that you don't have a Ferris wheel and a carnival behind your house. Like I kind of was hoping that was.
I freaking wish. I hate to break it.
This is our backyard, but no, good testament to like, and also that's something I bring up sometimes with especially movies that aren't necessarily big budgets is that if you're going to do a smaller budget film or you're doing everything's grassroots DIY punk rock style, sound design is everything. And you guys really understand the quality and the importance of sound design, not just the music, not just a score, but, the voice and the Foley of it all. And, all of the sounds that go into a movie, if they're not recorded right, or if, people go cheap on it, it really takes me out of the movie. It really makes me angry because I'm like, but you spent all this time and effort and tears and blood, sweat, everything into this, but you skimped on sound. So now I don't think of it as real. I think of it as like a student film. And I've never gotten nothing against student films because there's some great ones out there, but I've never gotten that feeling with you guys. It's always like, wait, this isn't like an A24 movie. This isn't it like Neon. This isn't like a huge production as far as like millions of dollars being thrown your way. And I think you're a testament to you can make amazing films without having zillions of dollars, but also when you have zillions of dollars, you have zero creative control. So at least you understand that balance, but you've somehow figured it out where you've made these major expensive looking films.
Yes.
Thank
Well,
you.
all of you guys are like, you know, badasses who do your own thing. So you understand like the power of just like agency and the power
Yes.
of being your own boss and you know doing what you want. And it's and so in a way being a small unit is kind of a convenience because like Zelda said, we can do it until we get it fucking right, you know. And we take sound very seriously. You know, John's really good at doing the sound edit and he works super hard at it. We don't have fancy sound equipment, but we really take it seriously that we have to get it right.
I love the deliberate silences as well. There was moments of deliberate silences that I was just like, it can't be anything but this. And it just was just the way it was like, you know, worked in was just epic. I was like, this is so good. Like the whole film to me is like an art piece. And then like, or like a beautiful, like, you know, music video clip. Just everything was aesthetically gorgeous. Like I was like, just take me there.
I always say if you can
until they start killing you for your body parts. Okay.
It's a worthy death. It's a worthy death. But also, like I always say, if you can turn the sound, and I know I just praised the sound, but my litmus test of this is if you can turn off the sound and watch a movie without sound, without subtitles, but still get lost in it. That means that the visuals are there, the cinematography is there. Even if you're not listening to, you know, what's being said or whatever, if you can get lost and it's still a beautiful movie to watch, to me, that's another layer of doing a great film is, yes, you've got great sound, you've got great acting, great music, but just the visuals alone were so sumptuous and so beautiful, but also so scary and tragic. So it matched what it needed to match the whole time. I mean, I love Wes Anderson too. I don't know what kind of horror film he would make. I would love to see that happen. I don't know if he ever will. But you know, you have that kind of aesthetic where you understand beauty, you understand scariness. Also, same with Lynch. All of his films I could watch without any sound and be lost in the visuals. John Waters is half and half, but you know, that's one of those things in filmmaking. And as someone that wants to make a film, I'm paying attention to things. Yes, the things I hate that I want to avoid, but the things I love is everything you guys are doing, but also experimenting with and trying different things out. And you can tell that you guys are fearless, which I think is also a rare trait in filmmaking. And you have the liberty to do that because you're making your film within your realm of control. If it was done through something else, you know, they might say, well, we need a jump scare every 3 seconds. We need this character to be female or this character to be male, or we don't want Depression era, put it in the 1950s. You know what I mean? And so I feel like being able to do what you want, you then get to spend so much more time on making a better film than worrying about network notes or whatever.
Thank you.
That's so true.
I did love that. When you were arguing about with the landlord, I was like, that's so me on a regular basis.
And I don't want to count 75 3 times either because I really suck at math.
And I wanted to say too, like this film compared to, we talked about Hellbender last time, like, you know, we had all this awesome, obviously visuals and just the witchy vibe and, you know, all the dialogue for Zelda. And this time, of course, you know, Zelda's playing a role with no speech except for the singing. Like, what was that like, Zelda, like jumping from that to this?
Yeah, it was really interesting. It definitely took a second to warm up to. At first, I was like, whoa, I have to act with my face. I can't just like talk about what I'm feeling. But once I really understood that was my character, I loved it. It was so fun. And I didn't have to memorize any lines. And I knew it was really important for the character too, as like maybe like a form of like trauma, like she lost her voice because of a lot of the things that she experienced as a child in her beautiful but really messed up family.
I love that you say that because in my notes I wrote heavy trauma. I literally wrote because I look at everything from like mostly like an artsy or a feminist or like a psychology perspective, and so I wrote down that, and I wrote down like psychopathy, antisocial personality. Like,
Yep.
Those were like the psychology kind of vibes that I got. But I did write down heavy trauma, so I just love that you said that. But please continue.
I'm so happy that you found that, because I think all three of the characters, like a lot of people in life, have trauma, and it's something that people go through. But these people are working it out in really weird ways. So she works it out. She doesn't have a voice, but she can sing. She doesn't have a lot of say in what goes on in her life, but she can cut her dolls and make them however she wants and take the picture however she wants. So it really, I think,
picture taking was really creepy too, by the way. That was that.
And I love the camera too. Like, it adds that creep vibe.
The camera was so cool, and like the shots too, like, because you showed the pictures, you know, and like
I was getting kind of like a Diane Arbus kind of like a, you know, there's a lot of photographers in history, especially female photographers, that were doing creative things, but also just really frightening and scary imagery. So when you were doing all that, I was like, what? This is like bringing back so many of my favorite, you know, obscure female artists and photographers of like the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. You know, basically when film came out, women, and we talked about this during Hellbender discussion too. In the 1920s, at silent film era, there were women directors, and they were not looked upon as, oh, you can't do this because you have a uterus or whatever. Like, you know, they were in there. Lillian Gish was directing just as much as she was acting, and a lot of those directors and screenwriters from the 20s, 30s, 40s were, and even some of the 50s, like Hitchcock definitely, you know, had Patricia Highsmith, and you know, you had all these people that were women that were creating. Until later, when it turns out to be like a freaking struggle and like some sort of deal with the devil you have to make just to get any kind of film made, unless you want to pay for it yourself and do it yourself, which is fine too. But when I was watching you take those photos, I was like, yep, I'm getting a feminist vibe, but also I'm getting that like, oh yeah, this is a thing that people were doing of this era, but also you brought such a unique vision to it, and a unique style and a unique personality behind it that I've never seen before. So I was really taken by that. I was really glad that you did that in the movie.
Oh my gosh, thank you. That is like literally the coolest reading that someone's done on our like usage of photography. So thank you so much.
Yeah, and also I just love creepy dolls, because I don't know if you can tell.
Yes.
I used to have jars of those little dolls, like jars of them, and I remember like on the windowsill in like my bathroom, there was these tall jars with all these little baby dolls in them, and my housemate was like, I have no idea, but whatever. This is super creepy. And I mean, this is the only panel you're probably ever going to be on where we're like celebrating and like cheering for a period scene. Like,
yay!
It came up and I was like, fuck yeah, Toby, get it. Yeah.
You know,
that was all Toby.
I remember with the last time we talked, I was talking about the blood. I like to sneak in like menstruation in our films, because you know, you don't see it that often, and I love it when we do, because we're all here because someone with a womb bled, you know,
right?
And so and in this case too, it was also another way of showing, without having to say anything, oh, these people are starving. Their daughter, like, what day is it? 2, you know, well, it's gotten too light. Go eat a fucking biscuit. Take mine. You know, it was a good device to like show, something that is typical of anyone born with a womb, but also of the era when everyone was fucking like struggling. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Also,
and of
it's
course,
not,
like,
it shouldn't be something too that's like weird or gross, because I mean, hello, Carrie. Like like I keep thinking of like the most, probably the most, well, I think it would probably be the most it'd probably be the most widely known scene in horror films that most men have seen, is what my point is that, you know, a lot of men may not. I'm talking about, you know, cis straight guys, and hey, I love my cis straight guys that love independent horror films. So those of you that are watching and commenting, this is not about you. This is about like the dudes that are like, tampons or blood, and they freak out. And it's like, yeah, we deal with this regularly. This is life for us. But also we never see it.
Guys.
Yeah, and we never see it represented enough, I think, in horror films. So I mean, another horror film I love series that's called Ginger Snaps. It's werewolf, teenage werewolf. That's a good one. They have 2 scenes in both of the first and second movie. I think maybe even the origin movie, about menstruation and also about werewolfism. But see, Carrie's the one that everyone's seen that movie. Everyone's seen Carrie. So it's like it did not take away from the story. It added to the story to show how sheltered she was. But like, I think when I see something like that in movies now, I'm like, yes, thank you. But also, I wonder if it was a male director, a male screenwriter only, would that have gotten in there? Maybe not. Like maybe the fact that this is, you guys are very into representation across the board, that I think that's why I got excited, because I was like, yeah, that's exciting. I'm so glad that got mentioned, because it never gets mentioned in stuff unless it's like, an afterthought or something. So thank you is what I'm trying to say in a very long-winded TED Talk way.
You're welcome. Something you brought up earlier, we kind of don't worry too much about structure. And so in this case, that film, if someone was in let's say film school, they'd probably be told this scene is out of place. You don't need it. Kill your darlings, get rid of it. But for us, I think, we're more interested in kind of portraying a portrait of something, and I don't want to cut certain things, even if they're not part of the so-called Hollywood structure. It's like, no, some of these scenes, these private moments is what I call them, are very important to me as a writer, as one of 3 writers. I love those private moments of what people do that you're not used to seeing, and menstruation's obviously one of them. And the fact that she shares it with her mom is so cool, because generationally that's where you typically learn, or hopefully learn,
And the Maggie as well, the one thing that stood out massively was that, this family is very matriarchal, and Maggie's the protector, she's looking after, her partner, she's looking after her daughter. Like, and even though you have this violent streak, it almost comes out of that survival mother figure, I feel like, very primal. And you're kind of taking care, and I love that vibe. It's not often that you have a strong female and matriarchal kind of family displayed, and I love that about it. Having John's playing a character that's quite vulnerable, and and really leans on his female partner as that sense of support and security.
And doesn't he play Seven so well?
So well. And also Mr. Tips could be his brother, right?
I thought the same thing.
Yeah, I was like, are they related? I was like,
who, John and Mr. Tips?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. People say that when they're friends. I mean, we've known him a long time. Think about that, but a couple people have said they look alike.
Yeah, there's a definite thing. I'm like, is that a brother or a cousin? I wouldn't be surprised.
That's funny. Yeah. You know what? I miss Maggie every day. I really loved playing her, and it was fun too. You don't see a lot of female serial killers, and that's something that we were kind of pretty stoked about.
Oh, 100%. And it's just and that's another layer, that you guys bring in to your films, is there's always this kind of off-center, not always shown thing that you guys will center on and focus on. And it makes it so much we can't say how much we like it.
I had a quick question. What would you say in this whole process was one of the most challenging things to do, making this film that may have been different than making previous films?
That's really
or just in general. Maybe just in general. What was a challenging scene or a challenging moment in filmmaking that you're like, whoo, we got through it. Looks great, but this was an ordeal a bit.
Yeah. I mean, I'll speak personally. I love shooting in the winter because it looks so good, and I think the movie would be so different if it wasn't shot in the winter. But it's really hard shooting in the winter. It's freezing. That means that you want to work quicker. Yeah, you have to be way more efficient. But the clothes that we were wearing too were very thin, because a lot of them were some were authentic, but then a lot of them were just thrifted clothes. So the shoes I were wearing were ballet shoes that were just a little piece of fabric in the snow, and I was like,
yeah, well, I'd had that very the war German. I was thinking of the how it was Holocaust survivors and stuff running away in Poland in the forest, and all in tiny clothes, freezing, starving, and I definitely had that vibe.
Yeah, it was tough. And even in the World War One scenes, like John is wearing these army clothes with like this, he's carrying this like sawzall,
Oh,
or
the saw
like
scenes, the cutting saw scenes are like,
The noise.
woo!
I was like, ooh, that gets you.
Those were just
he has
so like
blood on his hands, and it's
viscerally
so cool.
gross. Like,
Yeah.
oh, but I loved it.
Oh, good.
That was Zelda's boyfriend who played the soldier who gets, you know.
I thought so, because I remember you posted really gorgeous photos of you and him on your Insta, and I was like, I think that's the guy.
Yeah.
I don't know
Great
if you,
job.
I don't know if you realize this, but we all like
We're
low-key stalk
stalkers.
you guys on social. So like anytime you or any of your family post something on Instagram, the three of us start like going, oh, did you see this? Oh my God. Or I'll see like Jenna and Renee have already left comments and I'm like hearting their comments. We're so I mean, I don't want to say infatuated because that does sound a little creepy, but we are so in awe and enthralled with your family dynamic, not just because you make great art, but you also support each other in your other more solo artistic endeavors, whether it's modeling or traveling or art or music or whatever. So to me, it's like, oh, again, we said this earlier, we are all up for adoption if you want us to start a family. But I love that you feed that creative energy. You can see it feeds each other, it feeds all of you, but also you give it willingly to each other too. So it's this never ending cycle of you guys really being creative in everything you do, not just filmmaking, just being
it's a really
existing.
interesting dynamic. Like right now, like I'm studying like family therapy, and so I'm just like thinking it from that perspective too. Just like it's just so interesting to see this kind of dynamic that you work together, you thrive together, you know, I'm sure that there's spats or, you know, arguments or whatever, because families are families, you know, but like it seems like it's so symbiotic, I guess maybe is the right word. I don't know. Like it's just cool to see, especially since I work with a lot of, you know, people who have struggled with trauma and things like that, my mental health care work and stuff. And like I see a lot of families that, you know, have, you know, big struggles and stuff. And like, it's just so cool. And you guys are also like, back to what Bonnie said, you guys are also independently creative on your own.
Yeah.
Like how, like how does one family get this gold DNA strand or something that's just like creative, like genius, there you go. Like,
oh my gosh.
You know, I don't get it. Not everyone in my family is like artistic.
I know you guys are actually a Wes Craven movie full of creative people living together. Like I kept thinking about that the other day. I'm like, oh yeah, they already are this. I mean, we all come from different backgrounds. My family are like a bunch of rancher, like cowboys and farmers and stuff. No sports people. No one has any idea why I exist or how I got into the family that I did. So I'm like the weird one in California doing weird stuff, but I've always been weird. So like, when you have a whole family that gets it, it's such a, like, especially if you come from a place of you feel like the alien in your family, when you see families like you guys, and it's just like, damn, like, I do wonder sometimes how much more creative I would have been, or maybe I would have been less because I didn't have anything to rebel against. I didn't have anything to fight against. But I just, every time I see you guys do stuff, I'm like, you're unstoppable, but also you're good at promoting each other's stuff and supporting each other in your individual interests, not just when it comes time for a press junket. You know, you guys do this year round. I see you guys congratulating each other and saying, oh, that's cool, or that's awesome, of stuff that has nothing to do with filmmaking. So that to me shows it's a testament to how strong your bond is. But I think you make better movies because of it, because of the shorthand that you have, because of the support you have for each other. There's not that typical having to get to know a whole new group of people when you make a movie, because you already have this shorthand, you already have this artistic goal as a family. So it's not like, oh, we have to train these other people. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like you guys already get each other, so it's an easier process.
And I just realized I used a completely wrong word. That's not the word I'm thinking of. It's not symbiotic. I can't think of the word I'm thinking of, but you guys are so like, the way you guys, I don't know. It's not the word I'm thinking of.
In sync?
Yeah, it's not, but there's like a different word and I just can't think of it because I've been working at an internship for 10 hours today. So
hey, if it makes you feel any better, I'm forgetting the English language just in general because
my brain is just kind of like, I've been doing therapy stuff for like 10 hours today.
Symbiotic work.
Yeah. You know, my brain is like full of all these random therapy words. So
You and Lulu need to. Lulu's getting her master's in psychology right now. So I'm congratulations to you. That's so cool.
Thank you. Yeah, we follow each other. We've commented on stuff, and I see it.
That's
I'm
so
like,
sweet.
I love seeing people do anything that has to do with education or anything, and just like, you know.
I think we're all education nerds right now. Like,
yeah, I like to learn. I really like to learn. If I was like independently rich, I would just go to school forever and just get degree after degree after degree, and then just create stuff like different artistic projects.
I will tell you though,
back in the day when people were just scholars, you know, like.
But when you go back, because I did that for a long. I got 2 degrees, and then I went into the work world, and then when the first tech boom bombed, right? Like when I was working for tech companies, writing for Wired and all that at the very beginning of time. So like the mid 90s, the tech thing bombed, and I didn't have anything. I couldn't find a job to save my life, so I'm like, I'm just gonna go back to school and learn botany and horticulture, because I was writing for Organic Gardening magazine. All the gardening magazines pay really well, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna do that. But I figured out, though, it felt like an episode of Community when you go back to education as an older person. And granted, I was like not even 30 yet, and I thought I was like Grandma Burton in like community
That's called
college.
mature age student.
But I was the weird one that was undiagnosed ADHD that had like all the different highlighters to highlight different notes, and I would take sketches, and I had post-it notes, and I had everything. But I was not that kind of student when I was a actual college student. So like going back in academic, I think when you're older, you tend to appreciate it more, but also you tend to realize, oh, I'm an academic. I just wish I could afford to be an academic my whole life, and not all of us have that. We can all learn. Luckily, there's all didactics, I think. Is it didact when you teach yourself? Am I using that word wrong? Again, I don't know if the English language is disappearing as I'm speaking it, because I spent an hour the other day thinking obey wasn't a word because I couldn't figure out why it was spelled that way. And I was like, what is going on with me? But no,
that happens. I will say a word too many times, or I will look at a word too many times. And we did it. We did that in one of my classes the other day, when you say it's something that you can do in therapy. It's some kind of practice where you actually like say a word over and over and over again until it starts to lose its meaning.
Yes.
Because it's weird, right?
Yeah.
Like, or when you look at a word too many times and it looks like it's spelled wrong,
and you're like, that's spelled wrong. Right. Yeah, I do that a lot, man. I'm like, it's spelled wrong, and I'm Googling, and I'm like, it's fucking right. What's going on? I'm in like some kind of
okay. We're just getting old, ladies. That's all. We're just getting old.
All 3 of you look like you just stepped out of like undergraduate college.
I mean, we here's the thing.
We're drinking blood, of the.
We're all like, we don't hang out too much. I mean, I can't speak for Jenna because I think she's also beautiful in direct sunlight. I will literally explode in direct sunlight. So I think a lot of why I look younger is I just don't go outside.
When people say, "Oh, you look so young," though, and I'm like, "Yeah, dude, it's called no sun."
Yeah,
it's just being a goth, growing up a goth.
Goth girls always have the best skin.
We never leave. We never go outside. We don't want to explode or anything.
Drink a lot of water. Don't go outside. And
I'm like a poster child for like sun damage. I always tell like,
but you don't look it. You don't look it.
I've got like the sins of like the 80s with sitting out with baby oil.
Oh, I used to do that.
Yeah. What's the one? Coconut oil. Where you just, you just put it on and sizzle. Like my family are that way.
You're making yourself an entree at that point. Like, I don't think you're really realizing it. But also, you're fine. Toby, you're fine. Jenna and I live in LA, where you can just walk out and see varying degrees of skin cancer happening in front of you at different rates. And also people just slowly turning themselves into cheetahs via plastic.
So
like it's if you don't have to worry about that. You do not look skin damage level. But here's the thing too. It's like, who cares, right? Because we're women and we should reflect what it's like to be a real woman, not whatever.
You've lived your life, right? You've lived your life. You've lived a colorful life. It's badass.
Yeah. At this point, I'm just like, I'm gonna embrace it because this is my choice. I'm making a choice for me. I'm just gonna embrace the gray. In fact, I said to John and Zell the other day, I was like, I kind of want to just go all white-haired for this next movie.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Do it. I mean, I'm going slowly lavender. So I'm going from black to light gray, light purple, and it's working out, I think. I don't know.
It's working out really well.
It looks really good.
Thank you.
I just heard you say next movie.
Oh, yes. Is there like a little seed?
We'll see you back here, won't we?
Can you tell us anything about the next
We're
project?
so greedy. We're so greedy. We're like, just give us something.
last summer we worked on a film about a fairy, and we can give you that.
No way.
But
is it like super
that's in
dark?
very broad terms. It's basically a fashion shoot goes wrong and shit goes bad. So
I'm gonna love this. I actually collect
yeah.
I strangely collect original fairy art from my 20s. I haven't bought a new piece in forever, but I have like these like dark fairies all over my walls. So
that's so cool.
That's awesome. So go on. I'm sorry. I got excited.
Yeah, that's it. And so we shot it this summer and we're slowly editing it.
Okay.
But we're always having like new ideas in the work. Like we can't like go a moment where there's not an idea like churning in the head. So we got a couple stored, but we're always thinking about like, since we were always trying to do something new, how we can like transform our characters and our looks. I want to get like a wicked haircut. Toby wants to do gray hair. John's growing his hair out. So we'll see.
We'll see what we end up with.
I mean, if you're going to do movies, you might as well have fun with them, and you might as well do characters that you want to look like or characters you want to experiment, because that is the whole point of filmmaking. It's not just to entertain us greedy masses that have you on our podcast. It's also like, you know, an artistic, it's like being able to play as a kid, right? Like I just rediscovered, I have 3 cassette tapes that are in horrible, like just not great condition of me as a small child using an old school, like interrogation tape deck that I got at like a garage sale in the 70s, doing my own versions of Scooby-Doo. And I was like, how, why did I do this? But it was so, that's awesome, because that shows I wanted to write movies and TV. It showed I want to do acting, whatever, and improv, because that's all that is when you're a kid, you're just improvising constantly. And I think you guys really show that it can be fun to make a movie, not just really stressful form of artistic expression.
Not like this is just work. Like you don't get that vibe from your film.
No, you don't.
And I know it is a lot of work. Like I don't want to belittle that in any shape, way, or form, because I know it can be a great deal of work to make a film. But the way you come across, and if you make it seem so effortless and easy and fun and playful, and even when you're being scary, it's playful, you know what I mean? So it's like, oh, like this looks like a fun thing to do. And I think that's why you're so important to filmmaking, because you're showing people who have not done it yet that, hey, this is possible, and maybe I'll do something. Or maybe like your interview on Joe Bob Briggs' last drive-in, when you were promoting Hellbender, was so, and I love that show because he is always saying to people, don't ask permission. Don't wait till you have enough money. Just do it. Just go out there with your camera and just make a film and learn as you go. And that's what you guys are kind of a testament of. Look, you can do cool stuff and not have to have last name Spielberg and not have to own a studio and $1 zillion and no celebrities. Like you can do this and make a better film, I think, because there's a lot of horror films that come out with a lot of money behind them that I could predict what they're going to say, what's going to happen.
Exactly. Yes. And I don't like those movies. Those are the worst.
I mean, they're fun for what they are.
Movies. I like movies that like I don't know what I'm going to expect. And it's so like we do these podcasts all the time, and I usually have pages of notes. And with your films, I'm always just so like into the film and so like curious what's going to happen next, and like looking at the artsy stuff and the creativity, and then looking at the aesthetics and just I'm so immersed in it that I don't have much to say except for like, this is awesome. This is deranged as fuck. This is fucking weird and wild. Like literally, that's my notes. Like,
music to my ears.
Like, let's talk about the effects as well. Like,
oh yeah,
yes.
Like I was gonna say, like I loved it. I loved that the blood was like dark and goopy. Like goopy blood or goopy material seems to be our theme this year. It's weird. Really every film that we've talked about this year has had some kind of goop.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
It's chocolate syrup, strawberry syrup, and corn syrup combo. I swear, it'll do the goopy trick. It's amazing. It comes off of clothes. It comes off of your hands. It tastes and smells good.
Yeah, I'm doing that. And
And
like
I'm glad that you do that too, because like, is it and tell me if I'm wrong, Renee,
Savini?
you might know the names, Tom
Tom
Servino.
Savini?
He gave like not a TED talk, but like a little mini like explanation of why he makes the blood he does. Is the most realistic blood before he came along. It was like Argento level, like bright red Suspiria
Bright red,
blood. It
yeah.
wasn't authentic. It felt like paint. It looked like paint or nail polish. But then when he did it, he's like, no, it's got to be dirty. And also you have to know that blood changes consistencies the longer it's in air. And the minute it comes out of a body, it starts changing color and all of this stuff. And I loved about your movie. It's like, yeah, you get it. Like you're not doing.
Well, it works with your theme of like rotting, right? It's like that kind of, you know, when blood, like, and women know this, like when you old blood, you know, it like it turns that kind of old color and looks a bit and
or
that's
even if
like
you get an injury, even if you get an injury, like I've been injured a lot. Let's just say I'm a klutz, and also I've been in a lot of wrecks and things, and I which probably explains why I can't remember certain basic language words, but you know, blood doesn't stay the same color, but also if you're lying in a pool of blood, not that I feel like this is a cry for help now, but if you're lying in a pool of blood, it's going to be a different color.
Yeah.
It's going to be a different color than if you like skin your knee, and menstruation blood is different than, you know, missing a tooth blood or nosebleed blood or, you know, head wound blood. It's going to be all different. So the fact that you're paying attention to these things, and it's not just, you know, Spirit Halloween fake blood, which by the way, it is getting better, but you know what I mean? Like cheap dollar store Halloween blood.
Yeah, and just like the, you know, like the dealing with the limbs and like obviously, you know, and like when you're playing with the heart and like, you know, the soaring and stuff, like, you know, obviously, you know, there wasn't a huge amount of effects like when we were looking at Hellbender, but like what's it like when you're, you know, especially for I guess Zelda, like working with these characters where like their limbs are falling off and, you know, and like, you know, all this kind of like stuff, like, and
yeah, it's really fun, honestly, working with the props. All the body parts were from a friend that we made on Facebook who like makes realistic body parts and like sells them very affordably. They're
Wait,
how do you just make a friend who makes
yeah, hold up. Was this like a search or was this like a Facebook
I love how nonchalant that was. Like, yeah, just this friend from.
Because I often do a search on Facebook Marketplace for limbs.
I think it was John that made the friend.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Awesome. I mean, sorry, we sounded really like judgy there. We're not being judgy.
We're not judging. I'm excited. Okay. I'm like, this is amazing. Where are my limb making friends?
Yeah, I know, right?
Exactly. I'm like, that is so random and amazing.
Yeah.
And then a woman too from Facebook. I think we met that way. So we have some of her prosthetics too. Yeah. And when they get sent in the mail, often they're ripped open because it's like they're looking inside. You know, I guess
U.S. Postal Service. Yeah. It's so fun to just play with them. Like it's tempting not to just like throw them around the house and be like, oh my god, look at this fake hand, boo! But then we also have to keep them in good shape, you know, for the film. It's so fun though.
I will tell you though, because we did this at Hunt a Killer Games where I worked, where I was writing a lot of murder mystery stuff. We did a Blair Witch. We had 2 Blair Witch serial games, like just multiple boxes for each story. One of them was we had to have we wanted human teeth in a bag. And this end's not scary, I promise. We found out that 3D printing does really good fake teeth. So if you ever need to do that, it's kind of a cheaper way than having them have an artist sculpt them and do all that other stuff. So, I mean, in a way, it's not AI. It's not AI replacing anyone because you still have to run the machine, still need the like work. But if you want a cheaper way of doing things other than whenever I go antique shopping, I always look if there's a section for dentures or wooden teeth, and I'm the one that buys all that stuff because I'm like, I'm going to use it for something. So like I have like if I die mysteriously, I'm going to tell you right now, if I die mysteriously, no one is going to want to come into this apartment because it's like, you know, broken down ventriloquist dolls and like really cool puppets about a lot of medical stuff a regular person should not be in possession of. But also like I have tiny jars of baby teeth that I bought at garage sales and bought on eBay So I look like a serial killer that just hasn't done much, like a lazy serial killer.
Incredible.
But I do highly recommend, like, if you need to make props for something in the future and you don't want to have to outsource teeth collecting, 3D printers can also do a lot of femurs, a lot of different human bones, and also invent a bone. Like if you need a bone for a creature that doesn't exist. So I just wanted to put that out there. It's not AI replacing people. Don't worry about that. But there's still, I feel like there's still like a, a cross between having art and also having machines do cheap things for you so you don't have to do them. But I just love the fact that you had so many cool props, so many cool costuming. But it sounds like you did a lot of thrifting for the costuming as opposed to having to sew it yourself, which is another great way to like remind yourself you don't have to like do everything from scratch if you can upsource it.
Yeah, when we were on the Hellbender circuit, we were driving around to festivals across the US. So we were just stopping in every thrift store and just packing our car with blazers and trousers and shoes and hats and sweaters that we thought would just, if they even remotely kind of resembled the era, we took them. And we knew it wasn't going to be a perfect, match a lot of the time, but we just didn't get boggled down on that because it's not like we had like the budget to go hire, someone or to go into like a costume shop. And like, that would have really like been a fortune. So we were just like, you know what? Let's just make it work. We're commit to it. As long as you kind of believe it, it's like voodoo. If you believe it, other people might believe it.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's Lulu's tooth. In the
Is it really? Is it really?
That tooth was in the deeper you dig as well. Yeah,
I love that.
Can't not use
this
it.
is how you get family members to make appearances with just at least
whatever. Yeah.
Maybe when we're finally done with the tooth, we'll have to send it to you.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I would like that. Sorry, I sounded a little too excited. I'm like, yes, let me take away right now.
For both of you, what was your favorite scene shooting?
Yeah.
Ooh, oh my gosh. I loved shooting actually the scene with the guy from was it Sweden?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wrote down poor Norwegian dude.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
I love that scene because it was inside, so it was warm. And then it was also just like, it was so funny. And he was a great actor. And the
that kill was brutal.
Very fun.
Oh, that kill was
I loved anything inside the car, I have to say, because that car is so much fun to be inside of. You feel kind of like you're Bonnie from Bonnie and Clyde when you're in that 1991 Chevy. So anytime we were in there, I was just, even though it was cold and you didn't know if it was going to break down, I just was like, oh, I feel so cool right now,
Yeah. So
Did the car work okay? Because I know sometimes when you work with cars that are old, they break down a lot when you don't want them to break down in a scene. So were you having to deal with that, or was it did that car behave?
It did not behave. It broke down. Yeah. It was
But it looks cool.
It's so cool looking. Like everything is so cool looking in all of your films. It's just ridiculous.
It makes me miss cars like that. Like I know they would be we're in LA traffic and I don't even own a car, so I don't know why I'm saying this, but I miss cars that felt like
it had style.
It's an anomaly, Bonnie. I love it in LA.
Yeah, like that. I mean, when you go to Mel, there's like a classic car show that they do I think it's once a month at Mel's Drive-In in LA and Burbank, or maybe it's Bob's Big Boy. It's one of those places. It's probably Bob's Big Boy, and they have everyone from LA, so all the hot rodders, all the like rockabilly guys, all the guys that are just old and had cars back then. They're in pristine. They're in like pristine shape, and you see all these great, and you'll see Model Ts along with the 1950s, amazing Cadillacs. So but when I see them, I'm like, and then we look at cars now, it's like, yeah, better gas mileage. Yeah, they're safer, blah, blah, blah.
They're so boring.
Yeah, they're so boring. And it's like, I miss that.
No personality or like anything.
Yeah.
I think like there were so many, like we said, so many amazing shots. Like just the photography like for this film was just so epic. Like I just absolutely loved it. But like, one of the like scenes I really liked throughout the film was the I don't know, there's just something really calming and like beautiful about it was the scenes where it's the three of you together, like sleeping, like those close-up shots. Like I just like I just really like loved it. It just had this like really, I don't know, just again like, you know, had this like, you know, this beautiful family and like everything, you know, you're all connected and you're all like intertwined, and it was just so like wholesome, but also there's this gruesome stuff going on in the background, and I just love that, like, you know, it's like it's all soft and gentle,
That
and then next minute,
contrast,
you're like, it's so good.
Oh, well,
you.
thank you. Toby always says that you got to balance out the horror with some beauty, and I think that's what those like sleeping
Oh,
scenes
I
are.
love that.
Yeah, and there's so much of that in this. Like there's like the scene when you know, you, Zelda, are walking just along with the doll, and I'm like, it's almost like you're walking us into this like wonderland, but it's kind of like gloomy land, and it's like, you know, it's like ushering us like in. And then of course, like one of the things obviously that would probably stand out to a lot of people is that last shot, you know, obviously in the film, where you're just like, and again, that's almost like an amalgamation, you're like, of the family unit again, and like you know, it's like coming all around in the circle. It's almost like a rebirth of mother and father together, you know. It's like amazing.
Oh my God, I'm so glad you said that. I mean, without giving too much away, that is the absolute, you know, that is absolutely what we were trying to go for. The
I got it right.
For, you know, transcendence in a way, and rebirth for sure.
Yeah. And then you kick off into that video clip, and I'm just like banging.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. It's just
Such
like
a great way to end a film.
Yeah. And you guys it just like effortlessly glides in, which is something that I think a lot of people, you know, with their films, like when they're trying to, some people try too hard and they're like, you know, they're trying to put all these things in, it just doesn't really mesh or go well. And you guys have this really great knack for like flawlessly kind of seeping things in, and you just kind of like you go with the flow, and you're like, yeah, like I was like, you know, what's this gruesome kind of weird like noir art thing, and then all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, banging, like get into it, you know.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
You know what, something that was funny too was like, because we shot over, I think like probably 10 months, Zelda, doesn't that sound right? I think this actually was slightly a little quicker than maybe some of our other films. And so we had started in the winter, and then we had to still shoot stuff like in the carnival setting. And there's this indigenous like weed called Japanese knotweed where we live. And it's so like invasive. So like our set had overgrown. So we had to like make it look like winter. But meanwhile, it was like covered in just flora, you know, it just like, it was like the Blob, but in like plant form. And so they're like, you know, Zelda's out there with like a weed whacker cutting it down. We got machetes. We're like, oh my God. And we had to put on those heavy coats, right, Zelda?
Yeah, it was fun.
A trick that we used in a film that I was in ages ago, which I'm glad is not on YouTube because it's horrible. We just lost Zelda. If you ever have plants and you need a winter scene, you can paint or you can spray Christmas frost over it. So that way, at least, unless it's like something that should not be around during winter, but I'm from the Midwest where even the weeds are still around for winter. They're just have ice on them or snow on them or frost. So, you know, glitter, I think we use like some sort of like, you know, the frost spray paint used for windows for Christmas decorating, spraying that on plants, and also a white glitter somehow, some way made it look more like ice than anything. So we were able to do that for some dumb goth video I made like in the like late 80s or something. But you know, it's hard to deal with Mother Nature when she didn't get the memo to help you make your film look authentic.
Right?
So
that's
Zelda's just dropped off. She needs to get back into her study. Bless her.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna try to interject and be like, Zelda, do you have anything to note before you go?
No.
Conversation
again.
kept going,
Oh my God.
so.
I'm sorry, my internet keeps cutting out.
No.
We were
I'm
like,
so
no, don't
sorry.
go, no, don't go. We know you have to study. We know you have an academic thing you need to get to, but I just was like, but we want to say how great you are before you leave, so you know that we love you and you're in our will.
Yes, and do you have
leave.
anything? Do you have anything you want to promote or anything like, you know?
Yeah.
Anything you want to
Any,
say is the floor is yours.
Projects that you want to promote.
Oh my God, you guys are so sweet. I think if you liked Hellbender, we just released like a part 1 to our soundtrack on like all the platforms and stuff like that. That we're really happy about. And John like produces the music and we all sing on it, and he put a lot of effort into it and it was fun singing on it. But yeah, I really just wanted to say thank you to you guys. I'm so sorry that my internet has been bad. You guys will eat this up.
Right.
I live in a literary society, and it's like very spooky and like it's
of course you do. Of course you do.
What can I say? But
That's awesome.
It's chaos and I love it, and the internet is so bad. Like it'll just like cut out because someone's like, it's basically a frat house literary society.
I love
that
it. It's like
amazing. Enjoy every second of it. Like enjoy
every moment of it. Let me tell you, you will be wanting an Algonquin round table your whole life. And if you can get that at the very beginning, grasp on and don't let go. Because that's the coolest thing I have ever heard is a frat house is actually a literary society. That's a movie right there. That's Rushmore. That's another movie right there that you could be making that's like, I mean, come on.
You need to like, and they had like these parties where like they read poetry and stuff, right, Zelda? They need to read like something from every single one of you.
That's amazing.
I love that. Yes.
I'm actually working on a poetry book right now that I'm going to be releasing next year. So
no way, that's awesome. I can't wait to read it.
Also,
I don't know if you're familiar with artist Natalie Krim, who's done stuff for Vogue and stuff. She's actually going to be doing the cover art.
Oh wow!
I love that. We definitely.
I love poems. That's my jam. So I love.
Yeah, and you're actually inspiring me to get back into it because I wrote a lot of poetry that was a bit like La Loca or Exene Cervenka from the band X. She has a great poetry book. I think it's called Beer on Every Page, and so I like the punk rock poetry aesthetic mixed in with the beatniks and Kerouac. So I need to get back into poetry because I think Jenna is like getting me excited about poetry again, which I didn't think it was possible. So thanks, Jenna. But knowing that like you do stuff like that too, I feel like
has poetry in it.
It totally does. It's got that poetry stuff in it. And then of course, then you have me on the doom gloom poetry side. So I'm working on my third book. So
amazing.
So
your stuff would fit in really well at Zelda's house.
Yeah.
I'll have to read some of it.
Show up. We'll just show up with like our carpet.
We're just so lucky, and we're so lucky, and like just so thankful that like Zelda could come join us as well today.
Yes, thank you.
You guys are literally so amazing and empowering, ask such great questions, are so kind, and I look forward to being friends and family digitally and hopefully meet in person.
Yes.
Yeah, we're moving in, right?
We will come.
I've already decided. I mean,
I know. I'm already trying to figure out how to do this. How to just show up.
Me too, Bonnie.
Don't be too creepy, Bonnie.
I mean, not like when you're sleeping. It's not like when you're waking up and I'm just like looking over you.
Please don't scare them away.
No. I'm introverted enough to know my manners, so I won't do that. But like, if you do go on tour, or if you do make your way to LA, let Jenna and I know, because at least we can take you out somewhere. And then if you're in Australia, I know Renee would love to see you guys too in person.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just let us know, and we will definitely take you to our favorite haunts. And LA's a weird beast too, because it's got like the superficial side, but it's also got the spooky ooky side, and it's got a lot of rich.
You guys have an open invite, obviously, to just come on our show whenever
and anytime you want. Even if you want to talk about a movie you didn't make, if you just want to come on and talk about horror in general.
Maybe we could just do a whole show where it's just the whole Addams family, and we're not talking about anything but Addams.
Whatever you want.
Or no, maybe we need to interview you guys. Is how I think we should do that.
Oh,
that's what it has to be.
I mean, I won't say no.
Right? Oh, I don't even know the last time I was interviewed because I'm just Miss Studious now, and I don't get to do any of that.
Oh, I just and I'm
ask you then.
Yeah, let us know.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, again, I know we're gushing a lot about you guys, but you are very inspirational to us.
Yes.
And every time we talk about you, we think, oh, well, the three of us should do it. Jenna and Renee and I, we kind of like have a trifecta of skill sets that complement each other. And we're always like, we should do a horror film. We should do something. We should, and it's always life gets in the way, whether it's, health or family relationships or just, life getting in the way. But this reminds us to maybe make time, make space in our life to be
and
creative.
Just do it.
And just do it. Yeah.
Do
so
it.
Thank
Stop
you
talking about it.
Yeah, like thank you for giving us that inspiration and that for kicking the pants to maybe do something and not just talk about doing something. So
and
thank you.
Where can people find you online, Zelda?
I'm on Instagram at Zelda Adams, but combine the A at the end of my name with the A at the Adams.
Okay.
But yeah, and we're on Instagram at adams.family.films.
Zelda, I love you. I'll see you in 2024.
I'll see you in 2024. I love you. All right.
Good luck, Zelda.
Thank you,
I love you.
Bye. Thank you. I want to live
adorable.
in her
You spawned an amazing child.
Yeah, right.
You spawned two amazing children. Am I leaving any more out? Are there any extras we don't know about?
No.
Okay. I mean, that was a very personal question. I just don't want to assume there's there's always, when you watch reality TV, there's always the one family member that refuses to be on the show. So no one knows they exist. So I don't ever want to just assume that's the end of your amazing family. You might have some other, relatives in there that I just don't know about. So
that would be my siblings. I found out a few years ago that I was donor conceived. And my mom was on her deathbed and she told me. My dad had years ago. Yeah. So at the time I discovered I was the oldest of 7 half siblings. Since then we've discovered 2 more. So I'm still the oldest of 9.
Have you been in contact? Were you able to contact?
Yeah, that's a crazy thing to find out.
Wow.
That's so crazy. And later in life too, not when you're a teen or something,
I was 50 when I found out.
That's
amazing. Wow.
Weird secrets can come out. Like my family told me I had a half sister when I was in college. And I was I thought for sure the conversation was going to be you're adopted, now we can tell you. And that wasn't that. And I was really disappointed that I wasn't adopted because it would have explained a lot. Instead, it was oh, you have a half sister you never knew about who's older. Here's her address if you want to talk to her. And I'm like, wait, what? And it was such a weird thing to happen when you're older. Because when you're younger, you always want a brother. Maybe you always want a brother or sister, younger or older. And getting that when you're much older, you're like, wait, what?
Yeah,
that's so crazy though. Are they artistic and creative like you, or are they kind of run their own path?
No, I'm the only one kind of in the sort of arts. They're doctors and lawyers and
there's only one Toby, that's for sure.
Oh my God. Well, it's funny. I'm the oldest, but I say probably I act the youngest,
Oh, that's a good mix. That's a good mix.
It's good to be young at heart, I reckon.
I find that people can't guess your age if you're also slightly immature.
True.
Have you finished up doing all the press and stuff for this film?
We're still doing quite a lot of it. And we still have a couple festivals to go. We're heading to Denmark next week.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like,
Argentina, which was fucking incredible.
Wow.
Have you guys seen When Evil Lurks?
Yes.
So good.
So
you gotta watch
it. I think it's on Toby.
I'm always the one behind because I'm studying all the time.
It's on Shudder.
I just watch everything at all times because my ADHD, I can't have quiet. So I have to always be watching or listening or something.
I'm just an addict. That's all. I'm an addict.
Yeah. And Tubi, I would say Tubi and Freeverse and some of the other free, and also Shudder, obviously. But there's places that are streaming a lot of stuff that are just coming out.
On Shudder.
Yeah.
Me and my housemate watched it together, and I was like, we've got to watch this movie because I've just seen like everyone's really like raving about it. I was like, I'm like, yeah, I got it. And I fucking loved it. I was like, this is such a unique like take and that we haven't sort of seen, and just like very visceral. I loved it.
I'm with you. And I got to do a panel with him.
Ooh.
And also another cool director, Prano Bailey Bond, who did Censor a few years ago.
Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah, so I love
the three of us got to do a panel together in Argentina, and I was pinching myself. I was like, oh my God, because I admire both of these guys. And Damien's previous film, Terrified, is really good too. He's just got such an original vision. You know, he commits to his mythology, and he's the nicest guy. So I was pretty stoked about that.
And congratulations too on the FrightFest awards.
Oh,
yes,
that's so badass. Like you got like so many of them. I was like, it's so good. Like best film, best director, best actress was in there. Like I love that you're getting your just desserts. You know what I mean? For all this amazing work that you're doing.
Thank you. You know, we keep kind of pinching ourselves that, I mean, it's cool if a film does well, but almost more than anything, we love that that people are just like really uplifting us, you know. They're really kind of encouraging us. Hey, keep going, you know, we're into what you're doing. And also Where the Devil Roams is a really different kind of, it is totally different DNA from our previous films, which is risky. But I kind of want to keep taking risks. We're not going to grow without, you know, breaking the mold of what we've done before. But sometimes people just don't dig that. But hopefully we're in it the long run. And between lots of breaking molds, people will kind of like what we're doing.
But also they can circle back, because there's one thing to remember, especially in the horror genre. It may not make all the critics list or awards the first time around, but then there's this rediscoverability, especially with streaming, especially, you know, like we were saying earlier, I just watch everything because I never sleep. But there are people that like have a very long, I need to watch this list, and they may not get to your movies till much later. And then you start getting these weird requests from other podcasts like 3 years later who've just discovered Hellbender or something. And a perfect example of that is Richard Kelly's amazing movie, Donnie Darko, that just bombed at the cinema because it happened during 9/11 that the movie came out. So the whole intro of Donnie Darko is a plane crashing into someone's house or dropping an engine. So it didn't do well, but then through DVD release and through, you know, just word of mouth, it became this huge cult classic, and it made its own audience.
I'd rather do a film that like people didn't get, like, and that resonates with a weirder underground audience than, you know.
And it's a weird time to be in horror, because horror is, I don't want to say weird, I think we're very spoiled right now because there's so many different styles of horror films that are coming out and breaking new ground, but also paying homage to some classics, but also, you know, just doing some fun stuff that we haven't seen before. And luckily with streaming, and hopefully with the new, like, you know, contracts for writers, and I assume directors had a new one, but definitely actors. Hopefully animation will get a nice one next year. That streaming will actually benefit the creators a bit more than they have before, that aren't, you know, doing it themselves, but doing it through studio systems. But we're getting so many different types of things in horror that I'm kind of like, this is kind of, I don't want to say it's a renaissance period, but I feel like maybe COVID had so many people at home that weren't used to being home that they discovered, oh shit, there's a lot of great horror movies that are streaming right now that aren't huge, big budgets, but they're my new favorite movie or my new favorite, you know, IP or franchise that's not created from the usual culprits of horror films that we're used to. So I think, like, even if people don't see Hellbender right away, they'll know. And same with this film. I feel like you're gonna have like a whole Gen Alphas finding out about you later, Gen Z.
Audience. You got a big audience rallying behind you too.
You do.
Like, I noticed, like, on, you know, whenever I'm online and stuff, everyone's just like, I love this family, or it's a family affair. Like, it's just like, it's so cool, like, that you have your own, like, you know, fandom essentially of just your family.
It's very cool for us because we love people and we love talking to people. But you know what? The Deep You Dig is having like a little bit of a like second wind. It's really cool. It's now on Streambox as well as Shudder, which is pretty great. And I love that film. That film is so personal to me. So I'm glad.
I've been seeing TikTok reviews. So that's another thing to remember. There's a whole generation of of reviewers and kids that are on TikTok or YouTube still that are doing all these movie reviews, movie roundups, and really high level, almost very intellectual reviews of things that you wouldn't assume exist. But if you get buzz on TikTok or YouTube or Twitch, and you get a whole new audience that maybe isn't reading the typical movie reviews that we're used to from the 80s, 90s, aughts, they're getting their information from elsewhere. But if you get into that, that rhythm into the TikTok or into, people's minds, wherever they're at, that's where you get a whole new audience that just comes out of the woodwork and discovers you. But also they're very much about grassroots promotion. So even though Twitter's kind of going under and our normal social media places that we would usually hang out aren't being used quite as much because of algorithms, I'm finding that a lot of the younger generations are finding other ways. Like the younger generations are finding other ways to be like, hey, check this out. So it's not,
I was totally pumped. I was so excited when I saw you guys were going to be interviewed and like a part of Monster Fest here in Australia. I was like, get it, like, because I was like, I remember when we did Hellbender, I think we were one of the only shows coming out of Australia that were like, really heavily into Hellbender and like, promoting. So I was like super excited to see that you'd be picked up through them as well.
Oh my God, we're dying to come out to Australia.
You should go. It's one of my favorite places in the world. I love it.
We have such a great horror family.
Yeah, we will definitely be out there at some. Do you know Alexandra Heller Nicholas?
Yes.
We got to meet her at a festival in Spain at Sitges this fall. And she is so cool. I mean, I love her writing, and I love listening to her talk. And in person, she was so much fun. I'm like, man, the Australians are just fun,
Yeah, we've got an innate just chill, fun radness about us. I'll say
it. For sure. And so we got to get there next time. Oh, I thought I need to look at these, see if anyone's asking a question in these comments.
Oh yeah. By the way, thank you to everyone that's like been commenting as we're talking. A lot of you are very good at bringing up things I wouldn't have thought to bring up, or correcting us, or not correcting us, but adding. You're like our value added content. So thank you, people that are leaving great comments.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Darren. Darren's great. Darren's a great actor and producer and like stuntman. Hi, Darren. And so
he was mentioning your short films. Which I don't know if a lot of people know that you've done a lot of short films, Toby. So maybe, if people want to find is it The Thaw and like some other stuff. But that's, short films.
Yes, tell me all of them so that I don't have to search on the internet and find them. Don't give me any more homework, please.
We got so many. It's just it's always a pleasure to have to have such amazing rad people on this show. And we are, spoiled, but we're also very picky.
Yeah, we are picky. Like we've had you on twice. We've had Jennifer Reeder on, who's an amazing female filmmaker as well.
Trying to meet. We're in touch, but we've not met in person.
Oh, you guys have to meet.
Yeah, she was raving about your work as well.
So cool.
She is really cool, and I love her films as well. Oh, that's cool. I'll have to go back and listen to that. Well, what are some of your favorite movies, you guys, of late?
Well, I mentioned Hill House and Hell House, not Hill House. Hell House because it's about a haunted house that kind of goes crazy because there's a backstory. The place that at the Abaddon, Hotel Abaddon, they have this haunted house, and the new movie just came out. I think it was 2 weeks ago or a week ago. That's like it's a continuation of the story, but then you get more of the flashbacks or more of the history of what happened. And I just love it because it is found footage. I am a fan of found footage, but it's found footage in a way that isn't nauseous making. Like it's not just trying to replicate Blair Witch, but it's got its own level of creepiness. And they use sound design, and they also use music as a way to kind of like bring in the creepiness as well. So I've always liked that franchise, only because also I'm addicted. Here's the thing. I'm a total hypocrite. I love movies about haunted, like not haunted houses, but like houses that are made to be haunted for Halloween for you to walk through. But I don't like them. I don't like to be touched by strangers. I know, shocking. But I like watching movies like Haunt. Haunt's another great movie that takes place in a haunted house that's like for Halloween. So I like found footage stuff, but also I'm finding that I'm going back now because Tubi and I believe Freevee, which is Amazon Prime's freebie with, you know, movies with ads, are doing a ton. They just dumped a ton of Italian horror, like classic Italian horror films, and I have not watched all of them. So I'm like, yeah, I've been through all the Argento movies and, you know, the usuals, but then there's stuff where I'm like, I've never seen this. So now I'm going back and I'm watching movies from the 50s, like the creature feature stuff, because the acting, like I just watched Homicidal, which is a very interesting movie. And it's more of a thriller, but I was watching it the other day. I'm like, oh, this is creepy. Like, why didn't I, you know, you have to remember there's so many movies out there now, but there's also so many movies from, you know, the 80s, 70s, 60s, 50s, 40s. And so now that they're making their way on streaming, I'm like, well, I'm just going to have Italian movie night, or I'm going to have a black and white horror film fest this weekend and just watch a bunch of black and white ones from the 50s, because that aesthetic, you know, that voice pattern, the music, it's very different than you would watch something today. So those are some of the thousands of movies I'm like really into right now.
I think like the most recent one that I watched was When Evil Lurks. Like that's the last probably really amazing, like really good film that I watched, and I was just like blown away. There was like, because I feel like there's scenes in that film that, like, again, similar to your filmmaking, that's like not expected. So you just kind of, I like it when I'm taken on a journey where don't know where we're going, you know, and there's a lot of like, you know, moments like that in When Evil Lurks where you just have no clue, and then all of a sudden it's like boom, and you're like, whoa, shit the bed, like wasn't expecting that. And then like probably Talk to Me I really enjoyed, which is
I haven't seen it yet.
You gotta watch it. Yeah, and they're coming out with a prequel of that. So that's the next thing from them. So I'm really
Did you guys watch the new Exorcist or no?
I haven't seen it yet either. But I did, you know, the other night I watched a really creepy movie. I don't know how I came across it, but it was from 2016. I don't know who made it. I just came across this weird horror movie and I just started watching it. It's called The Eyes of My Mother.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
That was very disturbing and super creepy and unsettling. Oh my goodness. And it was just, I don't know. It was very good, but I think that's the most recent one that I can think of that like I was like, whoa, and that was like ago.
I also tweeted out my favorite Thanksgiving-based horror films because Eli Roth's Thanksgiving movie just came out. That's of course, you know, stemmed from the trailer of a fake movie he made for Death Proof. But that's why he did this Thanksgiving movie, because everyone's like, when are you gonna make this? Because they made all these trailers. I know, right? And it's great. Like I love it because it does harken back to like 80s, 70s, you know, slasher film, and it's also thematic. But I did post an old article I wrote for CNET about my favorite Thanksgiving horror-based films that are also, some of them very goofy, like Thanksgiving, which is a killer possessed turkey. That's a turkey. I mean, there's like stuff like that, but also there's The Oath. There's other things. I mean, also half of them are Blumhouse, because I mean, Jason's just not. I think he's just like, I don't know.
He's not letting up, is he? He's just go, man.
I mean, and it's not just him, it's Ryan. There's a lot of people in that group, but in that collective, but they are making so many, and not all of them are great, but they are making enough that it kind of reaches every demographic in some way. There's a film for you in there or whatever, but they like to do seasonal ones for Hulu. So there is a Thanksgiving one where they invite some like pilgrim reenactors who actually think they are the real pilgrims and just are horrible people. I mean, shocker, spoiler alert, pilgrims weren't so great. Yeah. So anyway, so I like thematic stuff, but what have you, is there anything you've been watching, Toby, that you're like, oh my God, I'm so glad I found this?
Yes, please tell us.
Yeah.
I'm like literally writing all of these down.
Yeah, I know.
I haven't been watching as much as I'd like because we've never been busier. So, I mean, When Evil Lurks and Talk to Me were two of my favorites this year. I haven't seen Birth Rebirth yet. I noticed someone talking about it in the notes, but I'm going to watch that on Shudder soon. Let me see.
Yeah, that's on my list too.
There's a film, I don't think it's out yet, but I saw it at FrightFest, and it's from Northern England called The Moor, and I loved that. If you like something that's creepy, like just genuinely creepy, atmospheric, that's a great film, and the writer's really talented, Paul Thomas. What else? Suitable Flesh was fun.
Oh yeah, I watched that one
Oh
recently
yeah,
too.
that's a friend of the pod, Joe Lynch,
Joe
who I'm
Lynch,
friends
yeah.
with. I'm friends with Joe, so it's like seeing him get like all these accolades, but also great cast of like Barbara Compton and also
Heather Graham and
Heather Graham, which I mean, people forget how great actress she is until you start seeing her and stuff again. I mean, we had the same discussion with Jennifer about Alicia Silverstone and the fact that, you know, she's also in Reptile, Alicia is, and you're like, holy shit, these people are great actors. Why are they not being used more? So like the Heather Graham in Suitable Flesh is amazing, but I love that Joe, you know, and again, that's another group of people that are like him and Adam Green and a lot of DIY filmmakers are still doing indie filmmaking, but they're telling the stories they want to tell, doing the humor they want to do, using the actors that they've always wanted to work with. And I think that's commendable in our horror film family, is that, you know, when you get to call the shots, you make great films because you get to do it however you want to do it. And that's, I mean, sorry, this turned into a TED Talk. I didn't mean
to. Yeah, and Mayhem was great too. You know, I mean, I think the acting like in Mayhem was so good. But and what else did I see on the festival circuit?
Can I ask you a dorky question about working on Fall of Usher?
Sure.
So, how was it? How was it working at Fall of Usher? Because that's like a big production, but
That's
also
a big
that's
production. Yeah.
It was so great. It was only one day. It was pretty cool to be asked to do it. It kind of an atypical character for me, so that was fun. You know, I loved. It just was great. The whole. Well, Mike is just so cool, and he really uplifts, you know, filmmakers, and so getting to act in that show was kind of like a highlight for me. You know, it just was great. To answer your question, it was easy, it was fun. He didn't direct that episode, but he was there. You know, the DP was directing it. I'm forgetting his last name now, Mike. Anyway, it was just cool. And the guy that played the young Dopen was such a delight. I really loved him. He's gonna have a great like career. Anyway, it was just really fucking cool. It was fun. We shot it out in Vancouver. And I just love the show. The show is so
it's really good.
It's like my dad called me and was like, my dad does not watch. He doesn't binge. He just doesn't binge. He loses like, you know, he loses attention span after like 30 minutes of an episode or something. So he never binges. And he called me up and it was like in 24 hours, he'd watched the whole season of Usher. And I was like, what? And he was like, I loved it. I couldn't get enough. And I was like, shit, I better catch up. I thought I was like, you know, for my dad to watch something in full so quickly, I was like, dang.
So, I mean, I had no idea that you were going to be in it. And then all of a sudden I was like all into the show and I was just like, what?
No, I did not
instantly reached for my phone and went on Instagram and messaged the ladies. I was like, hey, did you know? And they were like, yeah, we've already seen it. I was like, oh, I'm late to the party.
I love that bit in this film in you know, in Where the Devil Roams, where I was like, there was like, you know, you running into the water, and I was like, Toby's butt. Was that you?
Yeah.
I was like, it's Toby's butt. And I was like, woo!
Kids were like flying out to the side. It was just like these characters are going to begin and end naked. Right. And I think I should, you know, I kind of feel like I should be naked often in our films in the future, because I don't know, I think it's kind of important to like represent older people in their older skin, and I don't want to be afraid of that.
And also just to represent like a natural woman, you know, like that's not, you know, nothing against plastic surgery and stuff, because to each their own, but like it's just nice to see like just a beautiful naked woman without like,
but also like a woman that's like not, but also, I mean, we all talked about this numerous times in other podcast episodes for other movies as well about nudity, but also like it's nice to have someone who's not 20 something naked, but also not crone hag scary naked. You know what I mean? Like not Hereditary,
like an ex.
Or ex. I have to be careful because as I get older, I can't be like making fun of old people's sex because I'm not having any. So I can't be like making fun. But here's the thing, like I do think that a lot of filmmakers, especially in the horror genre, you know, it's either the virgin, femme fatale, mom, or hag, or witch.
Yeah,
or
it's like women
zombie.
don't really exist in the middle. In the middle there.
Yeah. It's like,
And I'm glad to see it start happening again, because I think also like you see a lot of these older actresses that are coming back and reclaiming horror. I mean, Sharon Stone in American Horror Story, I thought, or not American Horror Story, I'm sorry, Ratchet was, you know, that was great to see. I mean, she wasn't naked, but she could have been. She could have been. Like, and also seeing like a lot of older actresses starting to come back into horror again. I would like to see more
celebrating like
representation.
celebrating age, celebrating real, like real womanhood,
but not
you know?
like creepy. You know what I mean? Like celebrate
that's
age,
what I
but
mean.
don't
It's
make
like
it like creepy
No,
selling
it's
point
nice
of a
to
movie.
see. Like as somebody who's also an actress, and I live in Hollywood, and I've grown up in LA my whole life, you know, and I've just seen like the obsession with like this perfection of looks and stuff. And as I'm getting older, like I'm starting to see, you know, aging and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, like, and then I get embarrassed, like, oh, should I be doing photo shoots anymore? Should I be like doing these?
Yes, you should.
I'm in my
Yes, you
40s
should.
now. I'm in my 40s. Like, should I be taking
You know
nude
what?
pictures?
Keep doing it.
Like, but like,
Keep
yeah,
doing
I
it.
should, because like
Dude,
it's awesome.
when,
And when I'm
like,
50,
you
if
look
I want to
epic.
take, and when I'm 50, if I want to take nude pictures, I'm gonna take nude pictures.
Do it.
And if I'm 60 and I want to take nude, you know what I mean? Like, why the heck not?
That was actually a Sex in the City episode too, with, you know, the oldest of the women, and she was getting a naked portrait done in her 40s. And when like she has it hanging in her wall, so when like the maintenance guys come in to like fix something, they like stare at it and go, that's hot. You know what I mean? So, and I'm not saying you should do it for that, but like I always tell people, especially young people who might be a little like hesitant to do any nudity or take some photos or whatever, I'm like, do it now, because I guarantee you when I post like Flashback Fridays, I don't do nakeds, but if I do stuff, because I was a go-go dancer and I did fetish modeling and stuff like that, and Betty Page lookalike stuff for a very long time. I'm glad I have evidence that I did that, but also I'm starting to like appreciate me now at 51 and not thinking, well, I'm dead on the vine, I'm done, like go bury me.
Well, there's a certain satisfaction about being a woman who survived.
Thank you. Yes.
And I feel like even when I look in the mirror now, I'm not so like, you know, I'm not so self-critical. Like I look now at like, hey, these are the things I've achieved. This is what I've been through, you know, like I've had that, you know, me and Toby have spoken about it. Like I've had that crazy transformation of having like a massive surgery. Now I have this giant epic scar, and I'm like trying to reconcile that image.
Your battle scar.
Yeah. And now like, so I'm like, you know, there's like looking at these things and I'm like, but what have I been through, man?
Yeah.
You know, like,
hey, Renee,
like
scars are sexy as
they are.
I've had another friend who was like, scar, she just like leans in behind me all the time and she's like, scars are sexy. And
They
I'm like,
are. They are. And it's not just like the aesthetic of them or the like the look of them or anything, how it can add character to a person, but it's also like the story behind it. You know? And like what happened. And like I love, I mean, you know, when you're with a new lover or something and you're like exploring each other's body and you're like, what's that from? And like I love how like everything has a story, you know, and every wrinkle has a story, and every gray hair has a story, you know?
And also scars, like they, you know, they do tell a story, but like I think of some of the a lot of women that are front of camera that have scars that are, doesn't matter. Like Tina Fey has a very prominent face scar that she got when she was a small child, when she was attacked, when she was in the front yard of her house and some crazed person came up and slashed her face. And she's always had that scar, but like, she's also like, I mean, come on, Tina Fey's not defined by that moment at all. Like I didn't even know about it till I read her book. So it's like, it's one of those things too, where, you know, I think women too, sometimes we're afraid to show either imperfections or our vulnerability or even just our, you know, mortality on some level. And, you know, Wonder Woman has scars. Joan of Arc has scars. Every woman in fiction and history who's amazing has had scars. So it's kind of like
I look like I've gone on a battleground. I've gone to war. You know what I mean?
That's so hot.
It's very cool.
And I also like
I'm so into it.
I'm not going to say no to Jenna Hayes, like telling me I'm hot right now. I'm totally going to
Jenna.
in this.
You do look exceptionally amazing tonight, Renee. I have to tell you.
Yeah, I think
you all are fucking gorgeous.
But this also is a testament to you because we're glowing because we're so
Yeah,
excited to talk to you.
We're all like,
No.
we've been
You're
hanging.
you're like
we've been
the
hanging for this for a
you're
while.
like
We've been talking about it.
you're glow in a container. Like, I don't know how to explain it. You're like the fairy dust that we all need to feel,
Yes.
but also it's that kinship. It's like that thing where we all can relate to each other and all we feed off of each other's creativity and we're encouraging each other, keeps us young, keeps us vibrant, right? Is because of that energy, that creative energy, if anything, is better for me than any collagen, any Botox. I don't need it when I have you all to like keep me excited and happy, and then endorphins and all of that kick in. So this is my high right now.
Well,
so she just mentioned fairy, so I'm gonna go back to the fairy film real quick. So next year, sometimes you're thinking it's gonna come out.
You know, it's funny. Like we shot it, and then we got really turned on by another idea. Like we weren't sure we got everything we needed for fairy, so we might sleep on it just a little bit till we know. Like it's like right now it's still missing something, and we don't know what that is. But the fairy's subversive and like the most sexual of our films, but in a kind of subversive way. Like it's dark and fucking like warped, like really warped.
Oh, I love it.
I think of like, I'm like, I can't believe I did that, and I can't believe I even like came up with that. Like my character does some fucked up shit, and I just I'm like, I want to do this. I'm not going to say what I did, but I was like, God, what is wrong with me? You know?
Yeah, but you know what? Fairies in horror are fairy lore is very extensive. So it just depends on which route you're going and which culture you're taking, you know, some tips from or some influence by. But like one of my favorite horror films is about creepy tooth fairies. You know, the creepy tooth fairies, it's like stealing teeth from children, which is horrifying. But also I love that idea of not a Tinkerbell, not a like beautiful fairy, but someone who's just fucking scary as hell.
Well, there's a lot of really epic, like really gloomy, like gothic old school fairy art.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Oh, really good. Yeah.
And also, you know, when you really look into it, Midsummer Night's Dream, they're stealing human babies. This is like there's a whole thing about changelings. And that's another thing I'm obsessed right now is there's actually a very interesting TV series on Apple Plus TV called The Changeling, which is a different.
I watched it. Yeah,
it's a different take. It's more of like the African American, take on Changeling, not the movie that we're all used to with the wheelchair and the ball coming down the stairs.
I've never seen
Angelina
that
Jolie.
so I had no idea. I just started watching it because I want everything on Apple TV Plus because it's easy.
And it's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good, but it's also representation of something I know nothing about. So I'm learning just from watching that. But fairy lore is so vast. So like when you said fairy, I'm like, oh, there's so many great routes you can go, and also
you can do so much with it.
Yeah, lots of creepiness too. Yeah.
If there's anyone watching that hasn't seen Where the Devil Roams, I just want to say it is available on streaming like everywhere. Google Play, Apple. Where else did I say it? So more
on Amazon.
Amazon, Microsoft, YouTube, like everywhere. So it's like, get out there. Well, at least in America. Australia, I had a little bit of trouble and Toby helped me out, which thank you so much. But it played here at one cinema and I didn't get it was only played one, like, so it was really difficult to get in there to see it. It was a part of the horror fest. So but yeah, it is online everywhere and everyone should definitely go check it out. It's not your usual film. It's definitely, it just has a whole bunch of different layers and just takes you in a totally different direction. And I think, Jenna mentioned like it's just so immersive and you just get taken in, and it is like you just get swallowed whole and then kind of spat out at the end. And
I'm usually like pausing. Okay, I have to write this down when we're okay, I have to write this down. And I just was like
enjoying it.
Like, yes, the whole time. And then I was like, oh, I guess I should like write some afterthoughts. And that's where it just became like, super, I don't remember what I said, but it's just like these descriptive
that's
words.
Like you can tell a movie is really great.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen to Jenna often. Like Jenna and I both have
Jenna
like
always has her
notes
and things set in
and I'm frozen again.
Oh no, you froze again.
You always freeze.
freeze at a certain point. But
I do. That's like almost the 2-hour point. I just end up.
At least you look good frozen.
You always look
I
frozen.
look weird. I don't know. The shot that I'm looking at is kind of weird, but you guys look great.
I mean, yeah, we're glad that you're on here, Toby, and thank you for getting Zelda to talk to us too. I know she's busy, and I mean, we'll have you on anytime. I guess I'm kind of speaking for all of us when I shouldn't. Renee, you could be the one that says this, but you can come on anytime you want.
Like I said, it's an open invitation, never ending.
I want to though come on though and like be the one asking questions to you.
Okay,
you're all
like
badass bosses, and so I think it'd be good to like turn it around and interview you guys.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Definitely. It's weird too because we all three have such different. It's like it's a weird Venn diagram of like lots of cool stuff that intersect, but we all have different kinds of careers and different things that we're known for. And things that we're working on are different, but it's all very creative. All three of us are. I mean, again, I'm in awe of my co-host. Like, I love watching what Renee's doing. Watch Jenna's Jenna's world famous on so many different levels.
No,
and Renee is like world famous on cool just like cool. Like whenever I mention Renee's name, it's always interesting when people say, "Oh, writer, music." You know, like they go down the list because you are into so many things. And for me, it's like you either know me from a zillion years at being at Lucasfilm or something, or I'm an elder goth, or I write murder mystery games, or I'm just a weirdo. So, I mean,
me and Bonnie like first come across each other as bloggers, right? Like back in the early blogger days.
Yeah, old school bloggers. Which is funny.
Old school 90s Riot Girls, right?
Yeah, I was in a Riot Girl band, 2 of them that weren't great. But I was in them.
we both had fringes. We were both like hard, big into feminism at the time, massive.
Oh yeah.
It was like
still am
all about it. We are,
yeah. I mean, I wrote a book
called that youthful, like big kind of.
It's also like, I feel like all of us kind of also we are just like super hyper excitedly talk over each other but love each other anyway. Like there's no like, thank God, because this ADHD,
we all have ADHD.
I know, it's like at least we speak ADHD, so it works out. But yeah, we have so many mutual interests, but also we're so unique in what we do too. But here's the thing, one thing we all agree on at all times is signal boosting women and making them feel seen, and also celebrating them and celebrating their talent and their uniqueness and whatever they're doing, because I don't think there's enough of it. And there's still in the entertainment industry as a whole, a lot of women purposely not signal boosting other women because they think there's only so many slots at the top or so many places that women can be working. And if there's too many women competing, I never think of it as competition. I just think of it as my coven is getting larger. So I never think of it as, oh, you're kicking me out of this cool thing. It's no, there's more of us now, and that's a cool thing.
Straight. I remember I was just saying this to John the other day. One of the most liberating times for me was, and maybe it was like in my late 30s, that late, when I realized that I needed more female friends, and suddenly I was like, oh my God, this is the jam. I no longer feel this competition that I had before. Now I feel like, no, it's the opposite. It's like, no, osmosis, please bring me as much like female energy and friendship that I can get, because women are incredible. And I think it actually you're stronger for bringing and uplifting them as opposed to like pushing them away. And I had a mother who just loved men. Like she loved the company of men. And I think for a while I was like, I'm like a guy's girl, I'm like, I'm one of the guys. And then I reached like my late 30s and I was like, no, I want to be here with the chicks, It's like they are fucking cool. And so that was very liberating when I made that realization and change in my life, that I had more than just 3 female friends,
And female friendships are completely different. Like they're on another level. I feel like when you find the right chicks, it's like Yeah, they're just it's so good.
Pardon me.
Oh,
I mean, there are like
I think
shows.
that was the first ever sneeze during our podcast.
Yes,
I know, and I'm
it was.
super loud too. I don't have like the dainty sneeze. I have like a Yeti sneeze. It's like I'm sure I woke up some like neighbors. No, I was just gonna say too. It's like I've been trying to have more female friends, and the problem I run across too is like the horror film creative friendships are much different than the geek sphere, are much different than improv comedy, because I do some stand up too. So it's like all these different, and also I'm queer, so there's like that kind of crossing over of being bisexual of like, you know, there's also women I date and then there's women I don't, and blah, blah, blah. And for me, it's always been, okay, who do I want in my life that doesn't make me feel like I have to apologize constantly for being who I am? Who can I have in my life that I know isn't going to be judgmental of everything I say? You know, and I know this sounds very fundamental, but let me tell you, it's taken me a very, very long time to find women in my life where I don't feel like I have to be someone else to be their friend, or I don't have to like give them only 10% because 100% of me would scare them off as friends. You know, that's hard to find, especially when you live in LA too, where everyone's chasing a dream. There are certain people that will only be friends with you because you have famous friends or you can help their career, but they're not there to be equally helping. So I'm one of those people that makes fast friends, but then I lose them quickly. So I have to like figure out, okay, who in my life is there because they want to be there because of me, not because of who I can introduce them to or help them with their career, but also vice versa. Like I don't ever become friends with people to help my career. I become friends with people because I'm in awe of them and they make me laugh, or they make me want to create things, or they make me want to learn about stuff I never learned before, or there's a shorthand where I don't have to like do a TED talk of everything, explaining how I do everything or why I like it. And that's what these women are. I mean, granted, Renee's not in LA yet, though maybe we can kind of convince you to be.
Well, I used to come to LA twice a year, so I'm hoping that.
I just need to come to Australia. I think that's the answer. But, you know, we did this show, which was sort of kind of an accident in a way, because we were just, I think, guests on Renee's show, and then we just refused to leave. And then
I kind of just fell in love with us all as a panel, that I was like, this is what's going to happen, and that's the way it is now.
Yeah,
there is no other.
You were going to say something?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I think I was just going to say that, and it surely goes beyond gender, because obviously, like, a friend is a friend no matter what their gender. You know, for sure. But that's what I was going to say. So it's not just about like women, but
oh no, it's personalities. I think it's personalities, because like I have friends who are, you know, non-binary, and friends that are trans, and you know, they have certain personality or certain things that just click with me, and they can tolerate me. So like that's a gift right there. So
me too,
I agree with you on that. Yeah, I think mainly, you know, I was a guy's girl for a long time too, because there's no drama there unless they're gay. If they're gay guys or drag queens, that's a whole other level, which I am also there for. But that's a different level of friendship stuff that, you know, you kind of have to, but just regular like coven sisters, people that represent as women as well, you know, it's not just cis. So like, you know, I got people in my coven that are definitely weren't necessarily, you know, what I guess boomers would consider women, but I consider women. If you could consider yourself a woman, you're a woman. So there's no, there's no obstacle course with me. There's no test. There's no void comp test of whether or not you are allowed to be a certain gender. You are if you are. If you want it, so that's also another thing in horror I'm trying to find is more directors, screenwriters, creators that are in those areas of expertise, but also life experience. So I'm always trying to find, where are my horror filmmakers that are trans or non-binary, or, you know, they're on, you know, I think gender and sexuality are both on spectrums. So I want to see that more and more. And, you know, that's an uphill battle, because also queer filmmakers have another obstacle to tackle a lot of times. I think a lot with horror, it's not so much there, because I think horror family is very open. I think that's why we have American Horror Story by Ryan Murphy. You know, that's why we have a lot of queer creators doing some great things, but there's still a long way to go. And I think that's where we come in, where we try to uplift. I don't think we've ever been super negative of anything we've reviewed.
I don't even think we've ever been
I
negative.
was thinking that the other day. I was like, we kind of only review movies we love. And I was like,
But that,
we might want to throw one in that we hate or something at some point.
I'm sure there's things we'll love of things we hate because it's horror. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, there's something to love in all of that. So
and I think that's also like that's an undercurrent. That's an undercurrent of my personality, to be honest. Like, when I find stuff that I really dig, like I just want to support it, and I just want to like bolster it out there. So it's like that was the premise for this podcast, was just bringing amazing, cool shit to light and celebrating women, celebrating like, you know, all of this kind of stuff that I feel like just doesn't get enough airtime. You know what I mean? So yeah. And so I guess like with this film, like I was going to say as well, like, yeah, Jenna and Bonnie, like, do you have any like, you know, real like resonating like final thoughts on the film?
Jenna, you go first because you're our academic.
No, I've been so academic. I'm nearing the end of my fall quarter right now, and I'm just like I'm super entrenched in school and stuff right now, so I don't want to have to try to sound smart because I've already messed up with words and stuff tonight. But no, it's a really cool film. It kept me guessing. The bloody parts were really gross. You guys do gross really well.
Yeah.
and yeah, it's just beautiful. And I'm just, you know, I just think it's really cool. And it's surreal. Like the last time too, like I think the last time we had you on, I was pretty quiet because I was just like, I just watched her in a movie last night. and it was kind of the same thing at the beginning tonight. I was just like, wow, I just watched them. Like, and it's not like a star-struck moment, but it's just like my life is pretty cool. And I just love these opportunities to be able to like connect with, you know, creative people. And I just thought this was a weird and wild movie. If you are watching and you have not seen this, like, go watch it right now because it's unique and creepy and has a little bit of comedy in it too, and and just lots of layers. And I really liked it. So please keep making awesome films like this, Toby.
We're gonna keep trying, and you know, but like I said before, we are just. I think the fact that we're kind of people who are sort of doing everything and acting. It's almost like acting is just one small fragment of what we're doing. That. When we meet people, sometimes people are like, oh my God, I can't believe you're you. And it's like, yeah, I'm like me. And I was like, you know, I was also like making food for everyone in between takes. And then I was making sure my daughter was getting her homework done. And then we were carrying the props. And it's just like, we are such salts of the earth. So it's the people, you know, the people we get to work with in our films and the people we get to meet through our films. That really is the heartbeat of what we're doing because, yeah. Anyway, thank you for what you said, Jenna.
Sorry, I'm just like ego stroking all over right now.
And let me can I say something real fast? Because I know you've been leaving great comments, and I just want to thank you. And John, you've left a bunch. And I just want to address something that John Peters, you said before. And thanks so much, everybody, for your nice comments. You know what? We've never even seen Todd Browning's Freaks, believe it or not. And I know it's impossible to separate like our film because I know just from what I see of Freaks, pictures of it.
I've never seen that. So.
It looks similar, but I've never seen
one of us.
No, we've never seen it. But I know it's impossible to separate it. People ask us that a lot, and
I mean, it is kind of like a classic in, and you don't have to, and that's not a detriment if you haven't seen it. Like there's so many in that genre and so many films that are out there that people have not seen, which is totally fine. I mean, you can see it on YouTube if you want to, but it's one of those movies I saw as a midnight movie in my freshman year of college in Boulder, Colorado. We had the film majors would put on movie nights in the, you know, the main area of school where you can go watch films. And they were in charge of what artsy fartsy films we're going to watch for the year. And that was one of them that a lot of people wanted to watch. Also, because it is historic in a sense because of its subject matter.
And it's just flat out creepy.
Well, used real people from Carnival. So it wasn't just actors, it was representation, but also, you know, the American Horror Story Circus Carnival was heavily influenced from Freaks. So when you watch that season, you can definitely tell. But it's also, you know, it's been used a lot in pop culture. It's been referred to everything from The Simpsons on. So, you know, it's probably makes sense
It's
that
like
people
a
would
house.
ask about
That
it.
slogan is like a household slogan over here. Like whenever we're talking with rad people or like just people that get our vibe, it's like we're always like one of us, one of us. We
Yeah.
send that the little
But
you
it's
know, like
also
little
a
gift.
testament to the creative collective, which I do think exists. And I am a firm believer that the universe connects us all like a big ass spider web. And whether we know it or not, we're sharing some kind of collective memory and brain. So like when people ask you, oh, is it like, were you influenced by Freaks? Even though you've never seen it, you know, that creative collectiveness probably trickled down on some level as soon as your brain said, oh, we should do it set in this world. Then the universe started throwing ideas at your brain and you didn't even realize it.
It's like what Toby said earlier about, you know, trying to do something different, trying to come up with different things. It's
because even if you haven't seen something, you can still have the same idea as someone else.
Exactly. That's what I mean. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's why I'm kind of like, there is no such thing as original idea, because we've all thought it at some point as humans, or we are about to think it. Or the cool thing is too, you don't have to watch any of that. Like, I love interviews with David Lynch because he doesn't watch anything. And so when people are like, oh, is this like this? He's like, no. He's like, no,
like,
this
nope,
is just my, yeah, like he thought Twin Peaks as a whole was just a regular soap opera drama. He never classifies it as horror or fantasy or sci-fi. It's just like, for him, it's like, no, this is normal. And he's from Missoula, Montana. So, I mean, David Lynch's brain is David Lynch's brain, just like your brain is unique to you. Our brains are unique to us. But there is this collective kind of like, oh, if you do something based in space or based in a carnival or based a circus or based whatever, yeah, there might be similarities in certain things you haven't seen, but that doesn't mean it anything bad or good. It just means as humans, a lot of us want to tell stories in certain areas, certain times, certain whatever, and it just clicks at the right time, at the right moment. And that's why I love this, is because, again, it was an era that I don't get to see a lot of, and it's characters I haven't seen before, and it's a way you presented characters I've never seen before. And that's a testament to your creativity and talent, that you're doing something that no one can predict, even though it might be a genre or a setting that's been done before. I never once guessed what was going to happen next in this movie, and that's saying a lot. So the fact that I wasn't,
and just every shot is so beautifully done. Like, I'm always like, what gorgeous shot, or what perfectly composed, like,
I was mesmerized, like I said. Just watching that, I was just like watching the scene with Zelda walking. I was just like, why am I so like entrenched in this? And just like, and the car coming down the hill, I was like this, you know. And it's like, yeah, just take.
I was screen grabbing decor ideas. I was screen grabbing like home decor ideas from you. Like, I was like, I'm not a wallpaper. Like, I've never been a wallpaper person until I watched this movie, and I was like, oh, that's nice.
And super props to your sister for letting you like using the house.
Yeah.
There's another house we shot in too with the piano that has great like wallpaper. Yeah, she was just they had just put it up, and so it was sort of empty, and so we were like, let's get in there. we shot a lot of Hellbender in here too. I mean, all of our films have like little Easter eggs of things that we've shot in that from in other.
I love that.
Yeah,
it's
like little things that you can find through, and I mean, this film, I just fell in love with the family as well. Like I said, there's just, you know, there's this like, you know, there's all this gruesome stuff going on, but there's this undercurrent of just damn wholesomeness that's just super sweet. And you know, and you know, like I said, I love that. I love having a strong like female character that's just like really bringing that family together and lifting them up. And I feel like Maggie is just like really a champion for that. And it's like, I love that kind of primal, you know, mother instinct as well. And then obviously,
isn't that also like the dialectic of it? Like, they can have this like wholesome kind of bond, but then also be these like, you know, really creepy, like, you know, killers. And I love that. I love holding both of those in my mind when I watched it.
And I love watching the transformation of Eve, you know, coming from, you know, this kind of quiet, passive kind of participant, then becoming very much, you know, like, her own agent in her own world. And like, she's now taking on that strong, you know, protector of her parents. Really, she's taking over Maggie's role and looking after those who've looked after her.
She really does sort of become the matriarch. She totally like finds her power, and it's kind of her voice. You know, she finds her voice in a way that's not her voice. You know, literally. But yeah, I love that too. Like for me, it's really important that I think in our films we challenge people to love the characters, because otherwise it's just, you know, it's sometimes movies, it's just like, oh, it's easy, you know, you're going to love them. I really like to give characters that you're challenged to like, you know, like Maggie does horrible things and they steal someone's magic and that person rots. They do horrible things. They really like earn their pain. And so I kind of love that, but I think it's important. I want people to love them, but I want to challenge them to love them. That's something that's really important to me.
Yeah, and it's real, because you know everyone has different facets of who they are, and not everyone is lovable all the time.
Damn straight.
So
Yeah.
it's, you know, that's like 100% of being authentic and being a human, is that it's not going to be perfect. Exactly. We're all got crazy like to us, and everyone is just multifaceted. And sometimes I think in film we forget that, you know, and you need to, like, you know, there is like, people get fucking angry and do, you know, be little shits. And then other times they're perfect and great. And it's like that's just a part of what is human.
Yeah, I would get bored. I would get bored if someone was all evil or all good or always the hero or always the villain. I mean, I think the best way I always think about a good villain is the villain always thinks they're the hero of the story and not the villain. So if you write villains, like, they know they're villains.
There's a film, well, a series, I should say, a series out at the moment, which is actually a Korean series. And I think, I forget what it is, but I think it's Strong Woman Nam Soon. And it actually has this whole dichotomy of having a character which is a villain, but oh my god, you fall in love with him, and he has this complete other side to him where he's just this soft gentile person, and he's like, you know, really looking after this female character, but he's actually he's actually the villain, and he switches from being like looking after her and just being this amazingly lovable, and he's not faking it, it's real, like he's, you know, and he's going from that extreme to then, oh, I'm going to kill your mother. Like, it's so, and you're really pushed to like accept this person and look at this person as like, hang on, he's actually the villain of the whole story. He's done bad shit. He's gonna do bad shit. But we're also seeing that he's this incredibly open, loving human being that you really like fall in love with. But he's got this other side going down. But,
I love that.
I think that, yeah, like, your films have that realness and, like I said, that authenticity. And I think my view on this film, it can be really easily summed up by, you know, even what Zelda's point and what she said earlier about how you always say that you need to mix up the horror with beauty. And that is where your films kind of, I think, sit, because there is this like beauty that underlies everything you guys do, and it's gritty and gruesome, but there's always this beauty that strings everything together really nicely, and I love that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, we always say all of our films are about love, and and for me personally, horror works great when it has that balance or counterbalance of love, because you've got something to lose. You know, you don't want to lose it. It just ups the stakes. You know, like we were watching Evil Dead recently, and it's like, oh, it's so interesting. You know, there's like the characters, and they're like in love, and he gives her the ring, and then there's like it's like, it's natural that people want to put in like something that is good, that nobody wants to lose. You know,
yeah.
And our films are all, I mean, it makes sense because we're a family, but they're almost always about love. You know.
I love that. Yay!
Well, it's definitely, it's whether love in whatever forms, whether it be family or like, you know, a relationship, is, you know, almost at the core of who humans are. Like, we're always trying to connect. We're always trying to, you know, somehow involve and entwine in people's lives, and you know, that is inherently human as well. In everything,
and especially in horror, I think also especially in horror, there's this sense of survival through family or found family. Or, you know, you can't do it on your own. You have to have some level of trust, some level of vulnerability, some level of love to survive in any kind of horror-filled world, whether it's, you know, science fiction level or realistic horror. You know, it's a lot. Yes, there's always a final girl, but Final Girl's got friends and family too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's this level of community, and I think that's why I love the horror film community much more than I love sci-fi, fantasy, whatever. And I'm a huge nerd, so to say that openly and outly is, you know, controversial. But
I
I
love horror people, like horror
yeah,
people.
we call it the mutant fam, right? The mutant family, our horror family. There's a certain level of connectedness and excitedness, and yes, there's fandom that hates remakes. There's fandom in horror that hates certain kinds of horror. But the thing with horror is, I feel like a lot of us bond together because a lot of people love horror because it's about survivor stories. It's a lot about living through trauma. It's a lot about dealing with things that are the worst of the worst happening to humans and surviving and getting on the other side of it. I think that's why a lot of us love horror, because of that realness that's already embed into horror as a genre. So, I mean, I know Jenna's like all over this, but like,
well, no, I'm just like, oh, I love that so much, Bonnie. You can make me a therapist over here.
Especially for women. I think a lot of us, and again, and I'm not trying to be gender specific. If you consider yourself a woman, that also, but I do think people in marginal situations, whether they're women or people of color or gay or, you know, part of the queer community or whatever, you're going to have a harder time sometimes in life than maybe other people that can sail through. And when you have that harder time, and there's things that you can anticipate and there's things you can't, that the universe is going to be like, you're now a survivor of this, whether you want to be or not. Yep. I think that is why horror is so great, is because it does delve into those issues. It delves into all of that, but also it reminds us we're stronger than we think we are. And we have to have that innate sense of believing in ourselves or taking a risk or knowing that it's going to work out even in the bleakest of times. That's why I've always loved horror, is because there is that level of, even though the worst of the worst can happen, if you can survive that, you can survive anything, which is like kind of like that about horror. Yeah. So, but also I do like the killer end where it's like when you've had enough and you're just like, yeah, I'm just going to kill everyone now.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I loved about the scene with Maggie and the landlord, because like I said, that's me in a nutshell. Sometimes I just get like, no, I'm going back there. You know.
Yeah. And and people often ask, why didn't she just kill her on the spot? And my answer is that she's so uneducated that she feels like that's a moment of like self-hate. Like she loved what she would love nothing more than to kill this person, but she hasn't earned it because she doesn't know how to count 75 3 times. And she's like, I haven't earned this one. I think it's a moment of real self-hate. I really feel for Maggie in that scene.
Yeah,
she really wants to kill her.
She is stumped. Yeah, like when each time she says it again, like she's like stumped and like just doesn't, you know. And you can totally see that in the car afterwards, that she's like ruminating on that.
Yeah. You know? And then the mistake she makes because she doesn't know her flags, she doesn't know the difference between Germany and Norway. And poor Maggie.
Yeah, poor Norwegian guy.
I know, right? Aww.
He was just so like happy to like have people come visit him.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I felt for him, definitely.
I always feel for people in all the movies. I'm like, that poor guy.
But we want to thank you again so much for giving us your time and your energy to come and speak with us. And, you know, as always, like, we are always so happy to just have you on. I mean, we instantly fell in love with you the first time. So, you know, that's why it was a no-brainer. I was like, we're having you on. We said we would. Anytime you do anything, we'll have you back anytime.
I love you three. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone who also comments.
We had a lot of good people here today. So yeah, and I'm sure that you know, this will go live on YouTube afterwards, so everyone can watch it, and I can share it with everyone that isn't able to be in the live stream today. And yeah, as we said, go out and see the film. It's absolutely awesome. It is on streaming pretty much everywhere at the moment. Just whack it into Google, it's going to come up. It's unique. It's just, beautiful to watch and just gory. And there's great gross bits in there, which I'm sure people will really dig. So, we're super pumped, and really pleased just to have you back on again and talk. And having Zelda here as well is just an extra blessing. So yeah, is there anything you're working on at the moment that you want to mention, Toby, or is it just you're just on the circuit still?
No, just yeah, I think you guys covered it all, but I really would like to come on and talk to you guys. Like no questions about me. It's about
Okay.
I think that would be
I'm
really
down.
fun.
I'm so
And we
down.
can, like, talk about anything.
All right.
I haven't done an interview in years, so I would love to.
Yeah,
If I could get interviewed by you, that would be like,
amazing.
Yeah.
I'll ask all the questions.
The night shift goes rogue, hosted by Toby Poser.
I would love that.
Yes.
It would be like a total free for all. Like, let's see where this goes. That'd
Yeah,
that'd be great.
100%.
Yes, please.
Yeah, we're more than happy. And
Yeah.
and everybody who's watching today, as I said, you can watch this again later if you want to. Yeah, Night Shift. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. You can also follow me, Renee Ruin, on the little whoop over there. and we've got links to absolutely everything. It's going to be all, like, so good. Hopefully we'll be back probably next month for the last one of the year. So stay tuned for that. Yeah, and coming up, I've got I'll be on Movie Night Extravaganza next week talking about Buffalo 66. And then next month I will be on doing another movie night panel guest spot, and I'll be talking about Ex Machina, another film that I really like.
Love that movie.
Yeah,
so good. Love me some Domhnall Gleeson. He's just great. Jenna, do you want to give your plug?
Yeah. So I am immersed in my graduate school stuff, so I don't really have too much to promote except for, like, those are all my links. I've got new merchandise. I got the little link tree there. So that's got all of my links. My Spicy site, my merchandise site. I've got new prints that are coming out. I'm releasing a new one actually next week. And yeah, I've got these creative projects that are going to come out as soon as they're finished. If I can just find the time with studies. I'm like juggling studies and then trying to get 3 projects done. But the film will be done eventually. The photography book is half done and the poetry book is half done. So they'll be out next year. But yeah, and you can just follow me at all the links at the link tree. So thank you.
Yeah, and you can find
guys. I'm sorry, I'm a little loopy because I've just been okay. I just realized I'm like, bye.
I'm on all social, also Bonnie Girl. That's all my social. That's my social handle for everything. I didn't think to do Linktree, but I have a Linktree. I just didn't show it there. But you can find it on my Twitter bio or Instagram bio or wherever you find me. I'm in a Star Wars documentary called "A Disturbance in the Force," and it's about Star Wars Holiday Special. That was on TV in the 70s, and I love it, but a lot of people love to hate it or whatever. But I'm in it with Seth Green and Patton Oswalt and Weird Al and Bob Mackie and Donny Osmond, and it's
so cool.
Yeah, it's a fun documentary, and it's all about the history of this crazy, variety TV show that aired once in the late 70s before Empire Strikes Back. So it was like just this weird anomaly in the Star Wars history. But besides Jonathan Rinsler, who was in charge of Lucasfilm Publishing, who sadly passed away from cancer, this was his last interview before he passed. So it's really important, I think, for a lot of fans to get his take on things. But I think John and I are the only ex-Lucasfilm people in this willing to talk about it because it's such a weird thing with George Lucas not really liking it and whatever, and it was kind of like the dirty secret to like it when you worked at Lucasfilm. So it's a fun documentary, so I highly recommend it. I think it's getting a huge release in December. I think it's already available on Amazon to buy right now. I'm also gonna have I'll be on Conan Neutron, our fellow podcaster friend. I'm gonna be doing Blade Runner because that's my favorite movie of all time in the sci-fi realm, even more than Star Wars.
Movie Night Extravaganza as well.
That's Movie Night Extravaganza, and then I'm also going to be on Adam Green and Joe Lynch's Movie Crypt horror film fundraiser thing that they do in December. So they have all their past guests come on and do stuff. So I might do a horror film related craft. I haven't figured out what I'm going to do yet, but I'll do that. And yeah, and I'm on a book club with Felicia Day. So we review books once a month on her Twitch, and it's on YouTube. So I'm kind of like all over the place. And my game for Hunt a Killer that I created and designed and did everything on. It's called R.I.P. at the Rodeo from Hunt a Killer. You can buy it at Target, Walmart, wherever, Amazon. And it's a cowboy themed murder mystery where a rodeo clown gets brutally killed and you have to figure out who kills the rodeo clown. So it's got some clown horror in there, I guess, but I come from rodeo family, so I had to do that at some point, was write a Western, which is kind of weird to write a horror murder Western, but I did it. So yeah, and I'm always looking for work too. So like, I think at this point, I'm just trying to do whatever I can to keep my name out there. So people are like, hey, let's give Bonnie some money to write this thing and then I can pay rent. So that's kind of,
yeah.
Anyway, that was a very long, extensive, that's what I'm doing until we meet again in December. But thank you for giving me the platform to say all that. I appreciate it. And thank you to any of you that cared.
Yeah, and again, yeah, a huge thank you to Toby and Zelda, and thank you for everyone coming to join. You know, this show is definitely a love and a passion for all of us. So we
just
love
do this for fun.
Yeah, we literally do. So
it's a slumber party.
It's just amazing that people want to come and join us and join the party. So we're pumped. But yeah, that's it for us today. And yeah, I'm sad to leave you. I'm sad to leave you. But yeah, we're in love with the Addams Family, and we will always have Toby on. So next project, you'll see here, and let's do a reverse talk show. I'm down.
Yeah, anytime you want. Yeah, we will be finding you on Instagram and commenting on all your photos anyway. So just know that we're part of your family, whether you want to be or not.
Yeah. We're there. We're always there.
Bonnie's quite aggressive tonight. So
I know. I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know. Maybe it's the gray in my hair. I finally just don't give a shit.
Wear them off.
All right. Yeah, again, love to Jenna, love to Bonnie for always being my cousin sisters and coming on here and just having a blast with me. And yeah, and again, thanks everyone. And we are out for today. If it doesn't freeze on us.
I am so sorry. I guess I was a little too rambunctious.
That was great, you guys.